Alright, we're good.
Be like,
Bussin' with the boys, hanging with the fellas, betting on a game. No woman's gonna tell us what to do, and I've been over here just drinking beer and making that noise. Baby, I'm hanging with the fellas, bussin' with the boys.
Bro.
Ready to roll. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Bussin' With The Boys, episode 307. Not 10, Jack. Not 10. As always, this show is presented by our good friends at Chevy. There's a reason why we've never done a tier talk of best trucks, and that's because Bussin' With The Boys, there's only one pickup truck at the Chevy Silverado. Why is that, you might ask? Silverado is a partner you can depend on. We've all spent time driving and using the Silverado for all kinds of adventures and other shenanigans. Silverado was a partner with us on the spring tour, and they were a partner with us on the fall tour. God willing, we pop in 2025. We got another spring tour coming up. Maybe Silverado will be a part of that as well. Silverado brings the grit to legendary grit paired with modern truck tech inside and out. Massive screens. Talking about 8 cameras. And they got 14 different views that help make driving, towing, and parking all easier. We love the bold blacked out look of the Silverado HD Trail Boss. There's a reason Silverado is America's most awarded brand for new vehicle quality over the last 3 years, according to J.D. Power. Will Compton. Got the ZR2.
Everybody knows blacked out ZR2.
Popped in
Always
the
putting around Nashville.
Popped in the parking lot today, and I thought to myself, interesting park job parking on the edge, but also
It's
beautiful.
so I don't get trapped.
I know. I
So
literally was like, I thought
I
to
get some
myself,
dicey situations in the driveway. Sometimes you'll park a little too close to my back end, so I'm like Austin Powersing it in and out until I get out of there. So now I'm thinking I'm just gonna park on the edge so I can just get out whenever.
Luckily, you have 8 camera with 14 different camera angles.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. By the way, if you're wondering, you can head over to Chevy.com and build your own Silverado or Silverado HD and check out all the current offers on Silverado. Discover a world of strength and capability all behind the wheel of our favorite truck, the Chevy Silverado. Chevrolet received the highest total number of awards compared to all other brands that in the J.D. Power 2022 through 2024 U.S. Initial Quality Studies. Visit jdpower.com/awards for more details. Awards based on 2022 through 2024 models. Sherm, got the gloves on in the back. Why is that, buddy?
I fell off before this episode.
Like
And
chemically?
Not sick off, but just like, I just feel off. And I didn't know what it was. I wanted to spice something up.
Right.
I'm like, maybe this might bring something about. And while I was scrolling down while you're ad reading, felt good.
Felt good.
Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna get through this episode. We're gonna have some fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Big guest, Jon Gruden.
Jon Gruden.
He joined the show
legend.
last week. Yeah, the locker room was all time. Everybody's been tuning into that.
Oh, yeah.
This episode, this interview is going to be all time. One housekeeping item. Make sure whenever anybody in the back of the bus talks, we talk into the mic. There's been some comments out there. Hey, we can't hear nobody in the back. I'm checked out. This sucks. Yada yada.
Oh, wow. Comments like that.
Yeah, they were aggressive. Just know that our fans, our tier ones, are on it. They want to hear the boys in the back of the bus talk, and when they do, we need to make sure we have a mic.
Yeah, check into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Make sure you are subscribed to the show,
Right.
whether you're listening on audio or watching on video right now on YouTube. Consider subscribing to the boys. It does help us out. We're going to be talking some NFL football. We won't preview a whole lot of the college football playoff because you can get that on the locker room that
The
comes
locker
out
room.
Wednesdays now. Wednesday night at what, 6 p.m.? Is it 6?
6 p.m. And there's a fun little call-in. You want to tell people about the call-in?
The fan call.
The parlay call-in.
Yeah. Brain almost died there for
It's
a second.
okay.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. That's why there's 2 people on the bus.
Fan call-in parlay segment for the locker room. If you have a parlay for the weekend, could be college, could be NFL, could be players, it doesn't matter. Just know, take yourself a little selfie video, give us your best parlay of the weekend, and send it to info@bussinwtb.com for a chance to be featured on the show. Where do we start?
I think we should
Where
start.
do we start?
Do we want to talk about what we're doing this weekend?
Ooh, yeah.
It's
that was
exciting.
That was an awesome message to get.
Yeah. Who'd you get that message from?
The boys.
Oh, yeah? The
Yeah,
tribe.
Yeah, the tribe.
The tribe said, hey, we want you to come out and go do this.
Say, hey, we got you for the sideline passes.
Wow. 4 of them.
Yes, 4
Big
of them.
time.
Yeah,
The
we just
boys
got to
are-
know the names.
We're popping in and we're popping out. That's what
yes.
we got to do. So what myself and Will are alluding to, 12-team playoff, first year this has ever happened in the history. Now there's a team a little bit up north in Indiana. South Bend, Indiana, that is. Notre Dame. Sherman hates them. They are playing Indiana, a team that has just picked and plugged guys from the transfer portal and have got an absolute run in the Big Ten. And we're going to find out if they are for real or they frauds. Sherm, our friend in the back there, is already saying Notre Dame is fraud. So he's basically saying this is a game between a couple of frauds going to the playoffs. The boys will be in South Bend, Indiana, watching the historic Notre Dame Fighting Irish take on the Indiana Hoosiers on the sideline. Vlog will be coming out the following week. It is going to be an electric time.
Sherm, you think both of these teams are frauds?
He said since we've met him that Notre Dame is a fraud school.
Throughout the season, you'd almost assume
I think Indiana has benefited off of their schedule. I think they are more of a realistic competitor in the playoff than Notre Dame. Notre Dame has yet to win a BCS Bowl, New Year's Six Bowl, or CFP game. This is, without a doubt, this is their last chance. If you can't get a playoff win against Indiana, you're a fraud for life. You're a fraud forever. It's crazy that they keep on getting the invite with their easy schedule. They beat A&M. Cool. So did how many other teams? South Carolina beat A&M.
Texas.
They're in the playoff.
LSU.
Here's a question for everybody on the bus: is if you see a brand like Indiana, you don't think to yourself football powerhouse, but they're in the 12-team playoff. They had a hell of a year this year. How many years would they have to have of making it to the playoff and being a dominant program in the Big Ten to be looked at as like a football brand worthy, like a noteworthy type brand? How many years do you think, Will?
Yeah, I would agree. You were holding up too, weren't you, JP? Yeah. If they make a run,
JP knows what you're talking about.
If they make a run in the playoffs this year and then they come out hot next year, I mean that's a respectable.
You're
team.
saying that is a football branded school
In this college football playoff era, yes. Now, as far as like the blue bloods of the world, I mean that takes time.
Takes decades.
Yeah, but in the current, they make a run in this college football playoff, and then next year again they start off out. What was their season record? 11-1. They're a team to be.
And a run to you is they beat Notre Dame. They beat Notre Dame. They stall out against who would they play next? Who knows who they play next? But they.
Well, I think we would know who they play next.
Or Georgia. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, Georgia. It's not Georgia. Georgia's on the.
Oregon? No, it would be.
That's Tennessee,
Oregon plays
Ohio
the winner
State.
of Tennessee, Ohio State.
Arizona State.
No, Arizona State plays Texas or.
Look at us. Look at us.
You
Bunch
gotta
of
look it
idiots.
Watch it. Football podcast. Here we are. Who they play?
SMU and Penn State.
SMU and Penn State go against each other, and then the winner of that would play if
Boise.
Indiana beat Notre Dame.
They would play Boise.
So it's Georgia.
So it's Georgia.
Okay,
it's
so we could
Georgia.
probably say that they're going to stall
Yes.
out. But does that count as a run for you? Like they beat Notre Dame, boom. Is that a run?
I think it depends on how they play Georgia.
Yeah, if they play
Georgia
tight,
tough, I mean, it's look. You want to go and see what's up with Indiana and Cignetti. If you're a recruit, why not?
Yeah. Okay.
They'll
I'm with
beat
you.
Notre Dame. They'll beat Notre Dame.
I'm with you. More news.
I don't know. Hey, how'd Army do over the weekend? Remember when you were calling for
Here we
them?
go.
College football playoff.
Communist Willie at it
before
again.
they
dude.
before they play Notre Dame, get smacked.
That Navy quarterback had a great game. A great game.
That's when where you got to throw it all out the window. That's Army Navy.
That's
Yeah.
Army Navy.
Rivalry. Records go out the window. We saw it with Ohio State, Michigan.
Record-breaking performance by that Navy quarterback. It was crazy.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting.
I get
Army
it.
gets their ass beat.
Yeah.
Let's go over a little quick prediction. Just a quick, fast prediction. Will hit me down with those lines right there. Ohio State, Tennessee. Your first dog.
I kind of want to save it for the locker room.
That's a good point.
I kind of want to save it for
Well,
the
you-
locker
we haven't done any research. We haven't
now,
done any research.
I'm up in the air on Ohio State, Tennessee right now.
Okay, I'll take Tennessee.
Truth be told, I'm
Yeah.
up in the air. I think Ohio State is in a great spot to just win the whole damn thing since they've had the season that they've had and losing to Michigan.
I think they're broken. Could
very
Tennessee
well
beats them
be.
by 3 scores. Here's one
Tennessee
spoiler
fans-
alert for the locker room. I'm not going to waver on this, even if everything I look at tells me differently. I am going to pick Tennessee. I'm going to take Tennessee money line, and I fully expect Tennessee to plant their flag in the middle of Columbus, Ohio, before it becomes a felony. That's what I say. They're going to get one last one in.
Just send some fans to Columbus, Ohio while this
Yeah.
game's going on. If they win, just get out in the stadium and plant the flag.
Plant the flag immediately. And if you're a volunteer, if you're putting on the orange, you got to think to yourself, we're going to win this game. We got to plant that flag.
Now, years past, We're talking about pro Big Ten, pro SEC.
Yeah.
You're in a spot to root for these Big Ten teams.
Right. And I know.
And in the past, we've called for Ohio State fans to root for Michigan.
We have called for that. And at that time, it made so much sense to me. At the time, when we were talking about people rooting for Michigan, it made sense to me. What transpired between Michigan and Ohio State, the way Ohio State, the state of Ohio, has really just folded, has literally crumbled in front of our eyes. The foundation of that state has become so little that a congressman is trying to push forward a bill to where planting a flag on the 50-yard line should be a felony. You've lost me. You've not only lost me, I know there's people in Ohio that watch the show that are hardworking blue-collar individuals that just get paycheck to paycheck and save up the money they have so that they can go watch the Scarlet and Gray on a Saturday. And I feel bad for those people that they're in the position they were. The state's broken. Because of that, Tennessee is going to win big.
Even if, and I'm Tennessee money line all the way, but I love plus 7.5 for the Vols. I think that's a really good bet for anybody.
I'm
if
going
you're a
money
new
line.
better, DraftKings, get on there, plus 7.5, basically lock. So
Unless DraftKings switches it up on you.
yeah,
Well,
what happened
yeah,
with
what-
that?
buddy.
I had a 9-legger hit. Oh, I thought hit last night. I hit 8 legs out of the 9. All I needed left was Josh Jacobs to get 60-plus yards, which I think he might have gotten the first half. But I go back after I know Josh Jacobs has gotten 60-plus. I go back in the app and look at my settled bets. Apparently, they went back on a stat correction, and Khalil didn't get 40-plus yards receiving. He got 39.
It's a tough look for DraftKings.
Yeah, look, I get it because ultimately I'm betting on him to have 40-plus. If he didn't have 40-plus and he had 39, ultimately I lose the bet. However, what I'm curious about is if before this 9-legger happens, this last leg, in my cash, it was a $100 bet to win like $2,600. Very conservative 9-leg parlay. Well, usually if you put 9 legs together, you're thinking like plus 10,000 or something crazy.
Yeah, something nuts.
But what I'm curious about is say I cash out on this $100 bet when it was at like 1,700 is what the cash out was. If I cash out and then they go in and correct the stat, do they take that money back out of my account? That's what I'm curious about.
That's wondering.
Because I was like tight. I was like, what the fuck? It made me want to go back and watch every play of the Bills-Lions game just to see if it was 39 yards. I'm assuming they're correct on that 39 yards, so ultimately I wouldn't win. It's just I saw myself winning. And then I felt like I won, and then I go back in the app, and that money's gone. The $100 is gone.
I think at the very least, and I'm not going to tell DraftKings what to do. That's a great institution. We love that they're part of this show. Maybe just give you the $100 back. $101.
But if you're in defense of DraftKings, like if he only got 39 yards for real,
You lost the bet.
they messed up on the stat correction. I did lose the bet.
You're a big man.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
I
of
don't know,
you.
I've obviously thought about this a lot.
Yeah. Is there
Like,
something you want to
do I
work
go
through right
war
now?
with DraftKings? But then it's like, well, if he only got 39 yards, then ultimately I lost.
And also, DraftKings has been really good to us too.
Yeah, and I was curious. Has anybody went through that? Has anybody had like a parlay that they might cash out on before
Buddy,
it fully hits?
you're one of like 6 people in the world that have been close to a 9-leg parlay.
Yeah.
You're one of 6 people who have been like close to a 5-leg parlay. That
Or
was
has
a
anybody
historic
won a
thing.
singular bet that they was corrected on and then they go back? I would assume they would
No.
just take it out of your account, right?
God. Did you imagine getting that email? Like you just hit big on something, you're telling all your boys about it, then all of a sudden DraftKings pops up or any betting website pops
Yeah.
up and they're like, hey, by the way, had a bit of a whoopsie daisies here.
Yeah. So I would have, the majority of people don't like take the money out of the account. Like an even bigger, go down another warm rabbit hole. Say I only had $100. I bet it on that 9-leg parlay. I cash out before the 9th leg, $1,700. I deposit it back to my account before they do the stat correction. Then what?
Lawsuit.
Then what?
You're in a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to court against DraftKings.
Yeah.
I
Just
don't know if
interesting.
you win it.
It was a wild turn of events.
Dude, you brought up a big game though. Bills, Lions. Lions, they're so plagued by injuries. They lost a D tackle yesterday as well. Is it going to hurt them? Because right now they're tied for the 1 seed. I got the Lions schedule right here. It's a favorable schedule. I mean, they're at the Bucks or at the 49ers, and then they have Minnesota. Shaky. Eagles have at Washington, then they have the Cowboys, and they have the Giants. You got to assume they're both going to win 2 or 3 of those. And then Lions win. Lions would end up winning the bye.
I'm nervous for them in the playoff, the way that they've had these injuries on defense.
I know.
Because they've
it's
had
hard.
a hell of a year.
If anybody needs the bye week, it's the Lions.
Yeah.
They got to have it because it's a team that's scratched and clawed. They put the whole entire city on their back. Like we talk about all the time. The lady in August essentially crying to us how much she loves the city and loves the Lions. Like there's fans like that in Detroit. And you want to see them make a big run. But I was looking at the playoff thing, and it's hard to think that the Eagles, who might be the most miserable tied for 1 seed of all time team, but Eagles and Chiefs. Because you look at the AFC picture, and it's like, it's going to be the Chiefs again. It's going to be the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Does Minnesota sneak it? Does Minnesota sneak the 1
sneak
seed?
in there?
I mean, 11-2. They're a good team.
Yeah, that's a good ball club. There's no doubt about it.
Philly's interesting. They are. It is crazy how they are arguably the best team in the NFL, and it just seems like they have nothing but drama around them. Did you see the Sirianni clip last night to where he's going to the bench on the D-line, and the D-line's coach like basically saying, hey, not now, not now. And it just, I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about how they feel about Sirianni. It seems like he just has like no respect around the
that's
Eagles
tough to hear.
organization.
God, I hate
It's
that.
what it is from a listen, third party. I'm on the outside looking in. There seems to be something new every week. Last week it was AJ Brown, but they all learn from that. It's like feed the beast, feed the man.
Yeah.
He scores a touchdown, they go over and celebrate. They got him the ball
8
early
yards
and often.
over. 8 catches over 100 yards, a touchdown, and then the celebration to me just made me laugh.
Yeah, they're letting you know that they handled it. They're letting you know that they handled it in house. That hey, give AJ Brown the football. You're going to need to give AJ Brown the football if you're going to win this whole thing.
True. I mean, Saquon Barkley, but yeah.
No doubt. You're right.
Gruden had some good points in the last week in the locker room.
Saquon is.
But if you're 12-2 as a ball club, like you should be, the energy should be higher than ever this point in December. Everyone's getting Christmas gifts. The quarterback's dishing out to everybody something big.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, you're right. It doesn't feel like it. And I don't know if we're just over dissecting clips. You see Sirianni, like the
D-line coach.
D-line coach. He was like, hey, no.
And Big Dom gets himself in back there. Like it's a
the security guard.
It's always finding,
It's just
always finding a moment to get in that camera angle.
It's a wild situation. Hopefully they can just hold it together for another month and a half.
Yeah, because they have a fucking
They
team.
have a fucking
you see
squad.
Jalen Carter out there just popping dudes mid play.
Gilly said that.
I mean, I'd be dead with that hit to the head.
What is this?
Jalen Carter. He's in the middle of a play rushing the passer, and he just fucking pops. Who was it? No, it wasn't.
Two defensive.
You're talking about Myles Garrett.
What you talking about?
The Eagles played. They played the Steelers.
You're off.
Eagles played the Steelers.
Sure, just popped out with Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
On midfield.
Yeah, 2 D linemen.
I'm assuming it's an offensive lineman.
Myles Garrett is an edge rusher for the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
has nothing to do with this topic.
That is right.
And
There
I'm
you go,
going to lock
Sherman.
in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right. You're a little off today. You said it.
I'll lock in with the
Hey, it's
Lucy.
Monday. Lock in with a Lucy. Get dialed in.
Dialed in. Myles Garrett did rip his helmet off in a really weird play.
Yeah, he got injured.
But that's different than what you
That's different
guys
than
are
what we're
talking about.
Right.
Jalen Carter's out there assaulting dudes mid-play on the field, which, again, that violent team of the Eagles, I low-key love to see it.
Do they have the best vibe right now with everyone doing the celebration after every good play? Even wide receivers getting up.
Yeah.
First down. Cooper DeJean.
What is this?
Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean.
I don't know what it is. I
I
tried
don't
to
know,
look it
yeah.
up.
I might
but
be
it's
too
a vibe.
Caucasian to understand that, but that is kind of a nice
I mean,
little...
Cooper did it.
Yeah, let's hope that team has that vibe and continuity going.
Because you think
I mean,
about
they
the
just
Eagles, you
handle
think Kelsey retires, huge leadership. Then on the other side of the ball, you have Brandon Graham, who comes back for his 15th season. You think he's going to retire. He ends up tearing a pec. He sustains an injury, maybe it's a tricep or something. It was an upper body injury. So now you have 2 major leaders in the Eagles organization that are now out. You think these are going to fall apart. And now the Eagles have the best win streak record of their entire franchise, 10 wins in a row. Like, they should be thinking to themselves, boys, we can go win it all. We should have vibes up here. And it might be that way. It might be.
I think it is that way.
It
To me,
has
it's
to
just
be.
funny anytime you see a Sirianni clip because I'm just thinking, man, this dude's the head coach. And it's like they're always just patting him on the head like, hey, relax.
God, you imagine if Vrabel got patted like that?
Oh, I mean,
Brutal.
yeah, that's the thing, though. Like, Vrabel ain't getting treated like... Again, I don't want to say too much because Sirianni could be he could be a great guy.
Could be a guy, could be a friend of the show.
It could be absolutely
Would love
nothing.
to have him on the show someday.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Hey, are you respected?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
But the NFC is the most interesting playoff picture there is because With the AFC, it's like you just got to think the Chiefs are going to do it again.
No.
The Bills, though.
Yeah, Bills are the team.
If the Bills would have just lost the regular season game against the Chiefs, I would agree with you.
You think the Bills will whoop the Chiefs? I think so too. It's like if you watch the Chiefs-Browns, even the moments that the Chiefs have the opportunity to step on their throat and really just outscore, they haven't scored over 30 points the entire year. Over 30 points. I got stat correct.
The Bills have scored 30 points in like 6 straight.
And they beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm just the opportunity to step on a team like the Browns' throat. They failed to do so. They do win 21-7, but there's just something about the Chiefs. Just don't think they do it this year, man.
When's he going to learn? Just when is he going to learn? I do love the Bills. I love Josh Allen. I love the way that team's operating. The hype video from Detroit versus the Bills. You see that hype video on Twitter? It was like a back and forth about 2 cities, and the team just
where the
putting
head
them on their
coaches
back.
are talking, like
yes.
Campbell and
it just fires you up.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot going up there in Buffalo. I was there for a wedding back in 2015. Not a lot going. They got the Bills. That's what they got.
They got the Bills.
They're
They got the
fucking
Bills
dialed
and
in
wings and blue cheese.
Which is disgusting, dude.
But in the Eagles game too, TJ Watt, do we know how bad that injury is with him?
Looked like a foot, right?
You lose TJ Watt, it is over for the Steelers. You do.
He is so incredible.
You know he was
I'd
pissed
rush
that
the passer.
entire game yesterday. Sitting next to fucking Max too.
God.
He was ready to kill somebody. But NFC West.
TJ Watt's injury, not long term. Probably good for the playoffs at least.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a Watt, dude. He'll be back. He'll have the deer antler spray. He'll have all the things he needs to get done to get back on
whatever
the
it
field.
takes. To get on
whatever
the
it takes. Legally.
Yeah.
They never got popped for a drug test like me. He will be back on the field.
He'll be smarter about it.
Yeah. He'll have that BPC, whatever the new version of BPC 157 is.
Yeah.
To get that thing done.
Yeah,
You're talking about AFC West?
The NFC West.
NFC West.
Once again, wide open. Seahawks had a big opportunity to beat the Packers and remain the top dog there. And again, the Cardinals win against the Patriots. That division between the Rams, the Cardinals, the 49ers, and the Seahawks is wide open. And I have no clue who's going to come out on top. I really don't.
Yeah. It's sad, but I think the 49ers are not the team that's going to come out on top of that.
You say that, but you just never fucking know.
You never know.
I
There's
think
just
the best
too
team
many
coming
injuries.
out is the Rams or the Seahawks. But again, with the Niners, you never know because that staff, they still got the guys. Everybody's talking about they're injured, they're this, they're that. Like they could just, for whatever reason, come alive.
Yeah, basically the Niners have to win the last 3 games of the season just to make it in. And they do the linebacker saying he's not going to play. What's the kid's name?
DeVondre Campbell.
I say his kid like he's like not 3 years younger than me, but like that is insane to say you're not going to play a football game because your feelings are hurt. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't.
No, you've heard about guys going in the locker room at halftime. They're 12-year vets. They say, "Hey, it's not in. I don't have it anymore." To me, it's like, "Hey, just play the last 30 minutes and then retire after the game." But to say you're just not going to play a game. Because, because Greenlaw comes back from an Achilles injury. He's staying in the Super Bowl. And they're like, hey, we got to get this guy back on the field. We're going to get him reps. He's a starter. He's a Pro Bowl, all-pro type of guy. And then you take him out, and then you're like, hey, third quarter, guys are injured. We need you in there. It's a team sport. And now you got to, because he decides not to play, you got a linebacker out there hobbling around.
Right.
And that's just crazy.
And it's just not understood. And who knows if there was drama going on before that game started with their situation inside the linebacker room. But again, it not being understood before he even straps up, like he's dressed to go play. It's like, yo, if you're the team needs you.
Yeah.
And what sucks is DeVondre, he's a good linebacker. Like he's a good, sturdy linebacker. And again, the ego is the enemy, man. Whatever he's feeling in his situation. Because look, it's like, even if they're going with Greenlaw and you've had a hell of a year or you've had a good resume, like playing, like everybody knows you can play good. Mm-hmm. You can play well. You know that you can play well. And so if they're going with Greenlaw, you're in a situation where, okay, yeah, you might be the backup right now, but you never know when your opportunity comes. Like again, Greenlaw, he's just come back from an Achilles. He needed to be tapped out and DeVondre to come in to substitute for him. And he just decides not to play. It's like, no matter what, you have the opportunity there to, again, you're proving everybody that they're right for thinking that, you know, this could be toxic on putting you as a backup.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus coming in and playing and knowing that you are still a good quality linebacker. They're just the future is with Greenlaw. And I don't know if he's on a 1-year deal, 2-year deal. And again, DeVondre, he could be thinking I'm paid. He's made like $40 million. He doesn't need it, and he's good with his decision. But ultimately, it's like, bro, your resume and your reputation on being a good linebacker, it's now tarnished because you walk out on your team. And I get it's a business. There's all these angles going on of everybody thinking of their own individual story and their own individual business going on. But you are in a team game and the team fucking needs you.
There's a main story and there's a bunch of micro stories, and those micro stories are the individual story that you're playing out yourself. When he is out of the league 10 years from now and he's sitting at his house, I'm sure he's made all the money in the world. He's going to sit back and think about this moment. And if he thought about it without any bias towards himself, he's going to know that he made a mistake. Because it's just like you're saying, if it's a team sport and they pull you out, you have every right for your feelings to be hurt. You have every right to be like, bro, I've been playing well. I should be able to still play. But if you are asked to go back in the game after somebody sustained an injury and you say, no, you're now being a bad teammate to the guy who's hurt because now he's got to hobble around out there. You're hurting his money because he's putting bad film out there, and you're taking away opportunities from yourself. Like you just said, like when he goes, obviously, if he's that upset where he's not going to play, let's say he goes and plays, you know there's an issue the rest of the year. Season's almost over. When he's done, he can go to a new team, and there's no forward-facing media coverage of a guy who decided not to play a football game where 31 other teams are going to look at you and say, well, this dude's not a team guy. When the shit gets hard, when the shit gets tough, we're not going to put him in, or he's not going to be a guy we can depend on. And that's the bummer, is because he made a quick decision on something that is going to hurt the rest of his NFL career. It doesn't matter how long it is, and eventually will become a regret that he has. Because it's not, dude, the NFL, like we talk about it, how zoomed in players can be, how zoomed in you and I were. And then you eventually get out and you realize like how all the things that seem so big really aren't that big. This is one of those moments where it seems like it's such a big deal and you feel disrespected as a man. You just go out there and play. It's going to fix itself. You play good ball, it fixes itself. That's the frustrating part. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, it's like ultimately you're feeding the bad wolf.
Yeah.
The story of the good and the bad wolf on your shoulders. And he made a selfish decision. And again, it's like we can talk about football, but everybody, it's like everybody zoomed in on their own situation. No matter what, you can't control certain things like outside of yourself. Like you can't help that the coaches want to go with Greenlaw over you. What you can control, what you can help is your attitude and effort every day. Coming in to know like, all right, I'm going to be the backup here. I'm going to be the best fucking backup in the league until my time comes again. Because no matter what, you've put together a great resume and you're tarnishing it because you're so caught up in your own story that you're pissed off because people outside of your control are making the decision that we're going to go with Greenlaw. Right. Where it's like, again, if you just put your head down and be like, you have to accept the reality of your current situation and fucking be ready to go because your number's going to get called again in this league. Like one thing we do know, the NFL, 100% injury rate. Greenlaw needed to tap. Your opportunity would have still been there to go back in. And you never know. I hate to see it. I hate the bad teammate stuff. I hate the ego. I hate the selfish bullshit. Like I'm just not about it.
To me, it's even simpler of it's your job. Like you're paid to do this, and if you're healthy, you have to do it.
Right.
In the real person world, it's like you can't show up and they're like, I actually think I'm out.
Yeah.
And then get
pissing,
paid.
moaning over.
Yeah. It's like taking if he doesn't love football like some of the guys do, taking the Channing Crowder outlook on it of like, yeah, it's like working at Walgreens. I show up, I do my job, I leave, and then that's it.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like that has gotten lost in a lot of pro sports leagues.
Yeah, and just looking from that angle too, it's like you're getting paid to sit. You're getting paid to wear a uniform that 1% of 1% get to wear. Like that's crazy. You just got to be able to zoom out, man. This is a perfect ad read for Will Compton to read.
It's the most wonderful time of the year for getting in on all the hoops, football, and hockey action at the DraftKings Sportsbook. In the season of giving, we're being gifted college football and basketball, pro football and basketball, and pro hockey too, almost 24/7. So many games every day, so many opportunities to place your first bet. Try betting on something simple, like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and place your bet. And here's a gift for all new customers. When you bet $5, you will get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BUS. That's code BUS, B-U-S, for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The boys, the crown is yours. What else? Because I'm getting worked up over that DeVondre.
Yeah, like what are you doing in that situation?
Oh, I'm playing. Like if I think back on any of my own experiences, There's a situation in 2017 where I was pissed when we ended up getting, and I've told this story before, where we get Zach Brown, all Pro Bowl linebacker. He becomes the starter. Whether or not I think it's political, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he was the starter. So the entire year, I'm a backup. We had a third string guy, Martrell Spate, who's supposed to be the third string. And when Mason Foster or Zach Brown would be injured, we would go in to supplement. And when Mason Foster went on IR for the rest of the year, it was like the middle of the year, back third of the year, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be the Mike backer with the green dot and everything else. Well, I come to learn on the week of the game that we're playing against the Cowboys that I'm splitting time with Spate, who's supposed to be my backup, right? Like in my own story, in my own movie. And I'm pissed off because they're only giving me base reps, which 12 personnel, 21 personnel. Teams don't do it a whole lot in this game unless you're playing the Lions like Dallas did it that week. There's going to be about 15 snaps that I got to play base. The majority of the snaps are in your nickel package, nickel, dime, and Spate was going to be the guy. Spate was going to be the guy with either the green dot or Zach Brown was. I forget what it was. But I remember
definitely not the guy wearing the green
But I remember being so pissed off. I go into the linebacker. I go to talk to Coach KO about it, and I'm like fuming. I'm mad that I'm finding out in a special teams meeting that like, hey, Will, you're going to be on all four. I think they're going to be rolling with Spate. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why am I finding out right now in a special teams meeting that I'm not going to be the guy getting the reps? And again, I was tight, and I was bitter about it. And when I went home that day, because I went out to practice, Coach Gruden's trying to talk to me about it, and everybody's trying to talk to me about it because I'm being a bitch in this situation. I'm being very salty about it. And when I go home, I'm like thinking to myself, like, hey, if I don't prepare and go all in on these base reps, however many reps I do get, and I happen to play badly, all I'm going to be telling the staff and everybody else is that I'm proving them right for going with Spate. Like, Spate's going to be the guy, and then if I play poorly in my base reps, like, he'll take over the entire spot. But if I don't go out and do everything I can to control my situation, which I was going to be the starting Mike backer in the base package, and if I play well, then hopefully I can just build on it from there. Played well in that Dallas game, and the next week we're playing the Vikings, get a phone call, hey, you got the keys, you're rolling with the green dot, you're taking over for all of it.
Yeah.
So that's an experience I think about when I think about this DeVondre Campbell, is because again, it's like you can piss him on all you want, but the moment you go out there, you quit on your team or you play poorly, you're just proving everybody else right that they made the right call to go with a guy who's itching to come back, ready to come back, who's ready to sacrifice for the team and to make a run for the playoffs when you're kind of just fucking quitting on everybody.
Right. Shows how much you cared about the team. I had a situation, it was like 2018. I think we were playing the Saints, and it was like the second to last game of the year. The Saints are an NFC team, and the last game of the year I think was the Texans, and we were in this situation where for whatever reason that game like didn't matter from like a record standpoint. It wasn't going to affect our seeding going into the playoffs, but the next game did. So I think Tannehill got like half the snaps. Derek didn't play any of the snaps, and there was a bunch of players that were getting rested for the next week. And I found myself sitting there like I played every single snap of that game, or I wasn't even told that I was getting a break, and I was finding out before where it felt like a preseason game where like guys are like, hey, Derek, you're sitting, this guy's doing this, this guy's doing that, and I felt like upset about it. Because I was like, why didn't I just signed this contract? You get into a mode of just like thinking selfishly about yourself. And then you see everybody else around you kind of getting this like, this stressful time of year when you want to have a little bit of a break too. If you're afforded the opportunity, which we were at that point, you want to have the break. And then you see a couple other guys. But at the end of the day, I went out and played every snap. Like
right.
you got to go and do those things. And yeah, it took a series or two because I found out like 90 minutes before the game. So I'd have a little come to Jesus talk with myself in the bathroom. Like, listen, no one's coming to save you.
Yeah.
You got to go out and play. Embrace the situation. And it sucks because it's easy to sit on a microphone after everything's over and be able to talk and be like, this is how everybody should operate and act. But we just showed two examples of like, as a player, you easily find yourself falling into feeding the bad wolf where you're like, well, people are getting X, Y, and Z. Why aren't I getting that? You're like, comparison is the thief of joy.
Right.
And so now it goes back to what JP was just saying and Channing Crowder said, it's your job. Like if you're told to do something, you just go and do it. You're getting paid a crazy amount of money to go play a sport. So I think the soapbox we're good on the soapbox. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just wild, man.
Jared just said Alshon got here.
Alshon's here?
Alshon's here.
All right. Should we hit, who's over there with him? Do we have somebody over there with him so we can finish out this intro? J-Rod and Coop.
I can jump over there.
Yeah, I can go.
Okay.
Let's do, JP, why don't you go over there since the ties? Let's hit these ads real quick.
Are we gonna do weekend recap or
Huh?
weekend recap, or are we just gonna go right into ads?
Y'all just want to text me or?
What do you want to do? You want to just...
You want to do a little shout out, no free shout out? I can play a little bit of our. I do have a shout out, no free shout out.
I do as well.
And it's the syringe for medicines for little kids. Rue was sick over the weekend, and it was a battle getting medicine down. She never wanted to do it, and ultimately it got to the point to where I'm pissed off, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna hold you down." If you don't take this medicine, I'm trying to give her. We're trying to give her cookies. We're trying to talk about cookies and ice cream. We're trying to talk about all these things to get her like, hey, just do this. We'll throw on Little Bear. We'll throw on all your favorite things. We need you to take medicine because, sweetheart, you have a fever, and we have to get this medicine's going down one way or another.
Yeah.
You can do it willingly.
Yeah. Do the easy way or do the hard way, sweetie?
Yeah.
This is how it's going to go.
And ultimately, I'm having to hold her arms and
Screaming.
yeah, and she's like, to where I like wrote that tweet. I feel like I'm like waterboarding my daughter, and you feel bad. To where she's like, and then you kind of look over and you start chuckling a little bit because you just realize this, and it tastes good. That's a crazy thing. I'm like this. I'm like, hey, Dad's gonna taste some too, and I'm like, oh, these taste like sweet
It's
tarts.
fucking, yeah.
Like, this tastes fine, baby.
God.
Like, Rue, just take the medicine.
It's like getting a dog medicine, dude. You should like grab them by the mouth real quick, shove it in the back of their throat, and then like close their mouth and blow on their nose so they swallow.
Oh, am I pushing too hard? She's kind of choking a little bit. Like, let's see. All right, here, take some water. All right, round 2.
Right.
Down.
Yeah.
Just a little bit left.
Every
a little bit
4 to
left.
6 hours, we
Yeah.
got to reboot this
Yeah.
thing and get it
Yeah.
done. Dude, how about kids when they're flailing? And it's kind of like if you really thought about it, you're thinking to yourself, you're doing everything you can to get out of this, and it's not even hard for me. It's just crazy how weak little kids are, man.
I know.
And also, dude, my children, when they throw temper tantrums, they always have a way of finding my testicles. They always figure out how to fucking flail those feet, dude. And they're just fucking hitting those things every time. My 4-year-old, she was tripping about something the other day. And I like picked her up and was like, sweetie, relax. She's like, no. Legs start going crazy. She was like body bagged the things for a minute. I'm like, how the fuck? How do you hit that?
It is funny how upset they get, and it internally like pisses you off in a way. You're like, all right, we're about to find out. You're about to really find out about your dad and his strength right now.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, I am a psycho for thinking this way.
Dude.
Yeah, 2 years old. I'm like, all right, I
It
see you're
is
testing
nuts.
me. You want to shot at the title right now.
A little early to make that call, but I guess I'll let you have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. The medicine. Shout out the syringes. So what is a good thing?
Yeah, the ones where you can you can pull it up and then you just having a syringe, so that way you're not like trying to get them to take it from a spoon or have them drink it. You just get because they'll like bite their teeth and not let you execute it whatsoever.
Get it in there.
Yeah, I'm like holding her jaw and cheek, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And you feel terrible. It hurts you way worse than it hurts them.
Yeah,
you're like, fuck.
after they're all done, they kind of like relax, like eating some Cheerios, watching a show or something like that, and you walk up, you're like, hey, you want to talk about what happened out there? But they've completely moved on.
Like I fully tortured her, and then I'm like, you did it. Yeah, you did it. Here's some water.
That is awesome. My shout out, no free shout out, goes to Christmas Magic. And my wife started a tradition. It is such a pain in the ass that she started this tradition. But she does these things the 1st of December all the way to Christmas. She has this thing called Christmas Magic. And she bought this little like house type of thing. And it has these little drawers. It has 25 little drawers. And
advent calendar.
Yeah,
Hell
kind of like that.
Those are awesome.
And Taylor hand writes riddles and ties a bow on them. And when she puts it in there, the light turns on of the little house. So the kids know the Christmas magic is here. And it can be a whole bunch of different things. Like it was making ornaments one day. It was finding a bunch of toys you don't use anymore. We're going to go donate it to kids that can't have toys. And the one yesterday was just getting the PJs, whole family in the car. We all got teas and just go look at Christmas lights. Call up a buddy who does lights. I'm like, hey, what's the best place in town? We go to this gated community. We tell them we're so-and-so. We dive into there. We go and it's so funny how kids' attention spans work because they're having such a great time in the moment where the lights are being seen. But traveling the 10 minutes to go see the lights, I'm bored. I want this song. Can we have a Christmas story, not a Christmas song? And they're fighting about what Christmas song it is. And then all of a sudden, it's like 10, 15 seconds of pure joy and bliss.
Yeah.
Look at those lights. What about those? I'm taking notes for myself. I'm thinking to myself, I got to up my game. I'm seeing some of these houses out here. I'm thinking, I got to figure out how to have a Griswold type of Christmas. You know the Griswolds?
Yeah. What's the movie?
I'm asking you.
The Christmas Vacation.
That is correct, sir. Nice, good pull. Good pull.
Christmas
I get
Vacation.
worried about you when it comes to the movies.
I know. I worry about myself.
But yeah, dude, Christmas Magic. She literally handwrites these riddles and just total all-time mom move. These kids are going to grow up and they love it. And my daughter, my 7-year-old Win, she is like full Santa mode right now. She's fully in to the belief, all of it. So much so to where I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I feel guilty. I'm kind of just lying to her.
You need me to make a call?
No, you will never get that call again. Hey.
Don't wet the bed or you will not get Christmas presents. Stop pissing the bed.
Dude, that was
When are you going to be a good little girl now? No more pee in the bed. Or Santa will not come.
Is he really not going to come? I was like, no. He's Santa's telling a joke. I'm thinking to myself.
Go to bed. Will, what the fuck was that? I thought you wanted her to stop pissing the bed.
Dude, that was so funny. How old was Rue then? Was that last year or 2 years ago?
That was like 2 years ago.
So it was like
just a.
That was before I came.
Yeah,
I was
so
gonna
that
say,
was like
Rue
that was before Rue.
We didn't have one yet.
God, I would love to hear Will do that call now because Will would be
Yeah.
like, "Hi, sweetie, how
Yeah.
are you?" Like, just understand. You're like, "Hey."
I'm like in the middle of Whole Foods picking out cheese.
No, Will's just like fucking playing a video game. Like, yeah, don't do that shit. You do that shit, you're not gonna get anything.
Oh, I heard
right?
you been peeing the bed. Win.
Dude, did you? How about the video I sent you of Win?
Yeah, that's a funny video.
Dude, I gotta show you guys this video. So Win has
Saying the F word.
done this new thing where she like spies on me and my wife, and I said something.
Because of Dad.
I said something the other day, man. While I was walking, I was like, "Fucking something," and she's like, "Dad, why are you always saying fucking?" And like perfect pronunciation, exactly the way I say it. And dude, my wife and I just trying not to laugh at this thing. And I was like, "Oh no, we're talking about ducks." Mom's like, "Yeah, Daddy really loves ducks."
Yeah.
And she's like.
Ducking.
She's like, Talon's like, use an example of how Daddy uses that. And she goes, let's say there's a girl over there, and Daddy will be like, that fucking girl. And she pointed, she was like, one time Daddy was like, look at this fucking tattoo.
And then you hear Talon going into, let's get more information. She's like, well, how long have you been hearing that? She's like, oh, like 3 years.
3 years, just
From
saying a number out
Dad?
there.
She's like, oh, from Dad.
Yeah. hey, the wild thing too is when she said to Dad, I just pointed at Talon, like hoping my point might like would have enough energy to take her over to Talon to like take over that. But yeah, dude, she didn't say it though. Like we had that little moment.
She said to y'all, I've been hearing this word for 3 years now.
Yeah, dude, I
She's
was
like,
on,
how long you been hearing that? Like 3 years.
bro. And I just literally,
I was like
videotaping it, and I had to send it to Will, and he just sent back a bunch of hogs. I'm thinking to myself, am I a bad dad? It's one of those moments you're like, damn.
Kids hear everything, bro.
Everything.
That did unlock a memory of, I remember like spying on my parents from other rooms.
Yeah.
Like I truly remember that.
Yeah.
Like sitting like
you go to bed, they're up in the living room talking. You want to know all the conversations.
All
they're
the
having.
and you can't even hear it sometimes, but you're just like sitting there and you're watching them interact, and then they're like,
Especially when you hear them talking about you
oh yeah,
in school or something.
oh yeah,
bro.
Breaking news: David Montgomery out indefinitely. MCL injury, probably done for the whole season.
God.
Lions might be folding.
Fuck, man.
I don't, dude. If there's a man that can do it, it's Dan Campbell.
I was gonna say if there's a
I
team, a
hope, but you
culture, a
hate
staff.
it.
A culture that can do it, it's damn.
I hate that, bro, because they've been having a fucking year, man, and they've been getting hit with the injuries lately. That sucks, man. That's
That does.
terrible.
Because they really could be the team.
Here goes
They really
touchdown
could win
parlay.
it all, dude. I want to tell you guys about something special real quick. Hold on, let me take these Lucy's out. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. When you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And it's also, by the way, it's the perfect gift. You know how much we love Game Time now with their brand new Game Time Picks feature. They're making it even easier to get to a game. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. I honestly was just taking a peek at how many available seats there were in Columbus, Ohio, because there's no way I'm going to go to that game because I probably wouldn't be invited in. And there's a lot of tickets right now. A lot of tickets for the people, all the Vols fans that want to go up to Columbus and watch that game. So go ahead and check those things out. Just pull up your chosen event, Ohio State, Tennessee, and turn on the GT Picks setting at the top of the screen, or browse the best local Game Time Picks deals near you on your Game Time app homepage. So what are you waiting for? Go buy those Tennessee Volunteer playoff tickets that are away in Columbus, Ohio now with Game Time Picks. Call to action. Okay. Take the guesswork out of buying with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code BUSSIN, that's BUSSIN, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code BUSSIN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it?
Game time. Should we dive into Jon Gruden?
Let's dive into Jon Gruden, dude.
Dude, how awesome is he?
The stories, the twisted question. You would have thought he knew the twisted question before we even gave it to him. Him, just his voice too, hearing on Monday Night Football for 9 years and having him call a couple of your games and like being excited that he's just a legend.
And seeing that look in his eye when you just know he's passionate about football.
He just loves it, man. It's
Oh,
like border,
legit.
it's like between a stroke and like a 160 BPM. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful, dude. He's always teetering. Like, is it too much coffee? Is it a little something extra? What is it? But it's really just for the
Sitting
love of
up
the
in
game.
his seat.
Hey, yeah, Will, let me tell you something. Will.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way he talks, too. Good coach.
What do you say, talking about throwing the ball out of the end zone on a Hail Mary?
Yeah.
You
You
guys
know
all
what guys
thought
are worried
very
about? You know what guys are
So
worried
what do
about?
you think it is?
I don't know. Coach, listen,
That's when like
whatever-
the head coach calls on you in a meeting and you just for whatever reason.
Yeah, your butthole
I have
puckers.
no clue.
No clue.
You guys are going to love this episode.
You'll
Make
get that
sure
answer
you
on the
are-
episode.
Make sure you are commenting. And again, subscribe to the boys. Subscribe to the boys.
Please.
But here is Coach Jon Gruden.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Bussin' With The Boys. Very special guest with us today. We have a legend of Clay High School, a legend of Dayton College, quarterback. We have a Super Bowl winning coach, Mr. Jon Gruden. Hey, brother.
Yes, sir.
We are excited to have you on, man. Obviously, we just had you in the locker room. That show's already come out. But your passion, your love for football. And you never know with some of these personalities you see. I remember watching you with like the draft experience and watching you get up with players and having quarterbacks talk about it. And you got that look in your eyes like you do right now, having them draw things up. But you truly love, eat, and breathe football. Like, where did that passion start?
Yeah, I do, man. That's why I love being here with you guys. My dad was a coach. My dad coached at Indiana. He coached at Notre Dame. He coached with the Buccaneers. So I kind of grew up going to the locker rooms, idolizing players, wanting to be a coach. I played at Dayton. I wasn't very good. My high school is no longer around. They closed the doors. So I don't have any tapes to show you or prove what kind of player I was. But, you know, when you grow up knowing what you want to do at a young age, and then you have an opportunity to get your foot in the door, it's just been that way from the beginning.
How much of a learning curve was it, like getting around your old man and when you were getting integrated into coaching, just understanding the work that goes into coaching football, the sacrifice that goes into coaching football? Because it's like you sit there as players, and I've always had aspirations of coaching, but coordinators, like coaches of mine, would always just say, hey, if you find something else to do, you might want to look into that, because all the work you put in to be a player, it's like, you know, it's tenfold when you're coaching because you're there from start to finish all around the clock.
I mean, I was lucky because my dad knew people, and I was able to get started probably ahead of some other guys would. And I got started at Tennessee, the Volunteers. They were in the Sugar Bowl. We beat Vinny Testaverde. So I got around Walt Harris, a great offensive coach. And I was lucky, man, because when you're around people that know the game inside and out, that can set the tone and put you on a routine, and you try to accumulate knowledge every day and challenge you, that's just the environment I've always been in and the one I've tried to create. So anyways, it goes by fast. Look at me now. I'm Bussin' With The Boys, man.
Let's
I
go,
finally
man.
hit the big time, baby.
Hit the big time. Of all your accomplishments, there's got to be top 5. When you coach for your graduate assistant, right, for the Tennessee Volunteers,
Yeah.
do you hold any love for the Volunteers now? Like, are you a fan of the Vols? All the places you coached at, do you like still hold it near?
Oh
dear to your
God,
heart?
I love Tennessee. I met my wife there. My wife cheered at Tennessee. I
Really?
was a
Cheerleader.
My wife was dating Johnny Major's son. Johnny Major's legendary coach at Tennessee. She's dating Coach Major's son. And they broke up, and I went in for the kill, man. But I absolutely love Knoxville, Tennessee. Love the Volunteers. We have property up in the Smoky Mountains, Sevierville, near Dollywood, and we go back a lot. We just love it. And we're in the playoffs, too.
Who are your college teams? Is it Tennessee and Indiana? Are those the two?
Well, my dad coached at Indiana and Notre Dame. I coached at Tennessee, University of Pacific, who dropped football, and Southeast Missouri State, University of Pittsburgh.
You were at SEMO?
Yeah, 1 year.
No shit.
Cape Girardeau, man.
Yeah, bro.
I was getting a little nervous. When I saw Dayton on the Wikipedia playing college football there, I was thinking, I wonder if he has any love for Ohio State. But it seems like you just stay in the Indiana category, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I loved my experience growing up in Ohio. My dad coached at Dayton, made a lot of connections there. What a staff he was on at Dayton. John McVay, who became the 49ers GM, was the head coach. But most of my ties are places I've coached. Those are the things I can remember the most.
Yeah. What do you think about this Barstool media world?
Yeah, man, it's totally different. You know, I never had a Twitter page. I never had anything. I don't know anything about social media. I used to give everybody a hard time about doing it. Now I'm taking selfies, you know, with George Brett in the airport. I mean, it's really awkward and different.
It's a wild game. Like even when we finish the locker room, you're like, "Hey, put your helmet on. Let me yell at you a little bit. Get this on camera." So it seems like you're diving in the game quickly.
I'm trying, and I got some great guys, as you know, the guys that run the place, Dave Portnoy. These guys are interesting, man. They're really creative, to put it mildly. I got to go on the golfing thing with Frankie and Trent. We had some people come down to my office last weekend, and I'm anxious to see what is going to unfold, but I just want to do good. I want to be part of the team and try to find my role.
Yeah, you told them to cut you if you're not producing.
Yeah. That's what I said. I said, get me out of here. If I got a couple things I'm getting better at, and this is all part of the seasoning process. Hanging around with you two guys.
Yeah.
You know, I'll steal some ideas from you. This is a hell of a setup, man. It's about, you know, telling the truth, having some fun, making some people laugh, and making them think outside the box a little bit. You know?
Yeah. It's like getting to have this. Like, you know, we were talking about it either on the locker room or outside of it. What you miss the most is the camaraderie. You miss the locker room.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we get to have people on like yourself, players that are currently playing, ex-players, to where you still kind of get that feeling, that ball busting, that having fun, having some laughs. Because you miss the locker room so much when it's over.
Oh, it's what you can't duplicate, but you guys are doing a pretty good job of it. You know, just giving guys shit. That's what I tried to do every day. I tried to stir the pot, man. I'd come in there one day and try to make you guys laugh.
Yeah.
And I'd go to any extreme measure I had to go to make you laugh too, because sometimes you guys are grouchy bastards every day.
No doubt.
You know, and they need to laugh.
Get up at 6 a.m. every single day.
Yeah, you got to make them laugh. And then the next day I might try to fire you up. Yeah. You know, hey, Lewan, let's, you know, and then the next day you might really try to piss them off. Like I might really try to piss Will Compton off.
So you
today.
got 7 shades of smoke when you're coming to the office.
You want
what Gruden are we going to get?
Yeah, well, you just don't want to just install 22 Hank and here's 18 Bob. After a while, you know, you get a little bit bored. You got to try to make it fun, and you try to stimulate your guys, and I think that's when they play their best.
Who's the best pot stirring coach you've been around?
Ray Rhodes. Ray Rhodes was the head coach of the Eagles when I was the offensive coordinator. He was the secondary coach of the 49ers when it all started for me. He had Ronnie Lott. He had a great group back there. He was a combination of Richard Pryor. He was a comedian, and he was a great technician, a great technical football guy. But he would create analogies. He would speak in analogies that were awesome, and he used those analogies in his teaching methods. Ray Rhodes was phenomenal. One of the great coaches I've ever been around.
What about motivator?
Yeah, motivation. I'd be a hard one. I'd have to think about that for a minute, but I've been around some good ones. Yeah. How about you? Who's the best motivator you've been around?
I mean, Bo Pelini was a hell of a motivator.
I'll bet.
Dude, honestly, like I've told Taylor this. I don't know if I've said it on the bus, but you are a hell of a motivator. I mean, what was that when I came out there? It was like my 7th year, and you're a veteran. You're coming out mid-year, and usually, like when you're a vet and you've had some years in the league, you've heard everybody speak. You've heard all the speeches and everything else. But I remember you just had us after a practice one day, and it was getting my piss hot. And it was like one of those things. You're like, yo, this is the fucking. You hear all this stuff about Jon Gruden and everything else. Now I get to play for him, and you walk away from just that post-meeting motivational talk he gave, and it's one of those things, because then coaches try to do it and it's like you understand what they're trying to do, but it's not like getting you fired up, or it's not making you think. You're like, oh, I wonder what Taylor thought about this speech. You kind of go and laugh about it, but you were somebody that always felt like you had the right words, the right tone, the right time. And so I would say yourself. Coach Vrabel, he can get going. I think
Vrabel was more matter of fact.
Yeah,
like,
but
Vrabel had a way of expressing to you like the keys to the game, but in a way they were like, fuck yeah, if we just do these 3-4 things, we are going to win.
And the night
this game.
before a game, when he'd start running a highlight tape of
Yeah.
like, you could tell us they're talking about us this way, they're talking about us that way. Tell me we can't block on the edge. Tell me we can't make plays in space. Tell me we're not, all those different things that would get you fired up.
Yeah.
Your brother, he was more of a comedian.
Yeah.
He would take some like rap lyrics or song lyrics and bring it out, and we'd like have fun. Jay's awesome.
A lot of times it's the assistant coaches. I remember when I was in Tampa, we all know Mike Tomlin now as the head coach. He's a great motivator. You should hear him in the room with his secondary guys when I was coaching for the Bucks. He was a great motivator. Rondé Barber, John Lynch, he had those guys frothing at the mouth. Rod Marinelli, our D-line coach, was phenomenal. Some of my real bad words I learned from Marinelli.
Yeah.
Al Davis was a great motivator, and he used any method to get you fired up.
Bisaccia
was good. I think you try to hire guys that can handle their players.
Mm-hmm.
I hate assistant coaches that come into Taylor Lewan was 3 minutes late. Hey, Will Compton wasn't paying attention in the meeting room. Go get him to pay attention.
Yeah.
That's your job. You know what I mean? I like coaches that can run the show and really get these guys charged up in their own individual worlds.
Yeah.
When it came to coaching and you're talking about like one day you would try to make guys laugh, then motivate, then piss them off. How did you learn that I need to go about these different ways to motivate different players? Like, was that something you knew right away as a coach by watching your dad, or is that something you gained over time?
Well, pretty much when you're the head coach, you're not just motivating the left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just going into a team meeting to motivate the quarterback or the wide receiver. You're trying to get everybody on a common thread. Everybody's got to see this together. And, I just think the more camaraderie you can generate, the better chance you have. It's a long season. And I think it's important to laugh at each other. Get guys up there, have them talk for a minute or two.
Bust some balls.
Bust each other's balls, including your own. And that worked for me for a while, but I think I pissed some people off, and unfortunately, that's the way it goes.
Talk about you pivoting throughout your career, because the game is a lot different now. You're busting our balls. You guys are much more sensitive these days. We had Mike Allstott on the bus, and he's talking about how soft the league is now. Like, how have you had to kind of adapt your philosophies over time?
Yeah, I did Monday Night Football for 9 years. And during those 9 years, I got away from the Players Association, how practices have changed. You can't hit the quarterback below the leg. A lot of different rules have come in. Player safety, big issue. But the big thing is coming back and coaching, you have to adapt to the rules, but you still have to push the envelope. You got to create repetitions. Repetition's the mother of learning, whether it be walkthroughs, whatever it is. We have to develop players, and you guys will admit, these college kids coming out, they are not as far along as people think they are. A lot of these guys are transferring year to year. They're only 1 year starters. They're really raw, and you need time to spend with them, but you got to push the envelope. You got to adapt to the circumstances that are laid out for you.
Go ahead. Sorry.
We were talking about the transfer in the NIL in the last episode of Bussin' With The Boys, how it's got to be so difficult as a college coach to go up to a player and be like, these are the things you need to work on, and be a little bit harder on them, a little more tough love on them, because they'll be like, I'm just going to go somewhere else and get paid the same amount. Do you think there's going to be like a drop in the talent level in the NFL in the next 5 to 7 years, with guys not kind of, because you have to be forged in fire a little bit when it comes to college. You have to go through the 6 a.m. winter conditioning type of situations. And a lot of guys, when it gets too difficult, now they'll just leave. And if they're not pressed to move forward and grow, they're going to be a less than player. Do you think there's going to be
they'll be raw without mental toughness?
Yeah, raw without mental toughness.
Well, you just said the thing I think is the key ingredient in being a pro football player. It's mental toughness. I don't care where you go, what round, or who you play for. You're going to get your ass knocked off in the NFL, and the media is going to jump on you. That's just the reality of it. And if you don't have mental toughness to lean on, you're out. You're going to be gone early.
Yeah.
But I worry about the state of college football, what we're doing. These guys are pulling out of bowl games. Guys are in the NIL portal before the season is over. how would you look at your teammate if you had a left guard playing next to you at Michigan that's entering the portal before you play in a bowl game? That would probably piss you off.
Yeah, it's
Especially
hard
the playoff, like the portal's open now.
Right.
It's like these
Yeah.
teams are going to try and make a push to win a national title, and you got guys kind of flirting with the next girl. Yeah, I have no
That's
clue,
crazy.
bro.
it's got to be just because when Will and I were in college, it was you pick a school, you're at that school for 4 years. If you want to transfer, you have to sit out for a year and lose a year of eligibility. So there's a lot of risk if you want to make it that dramatic of a change. So you either, buy in or get the fuck out. And I could not imagine sitting next to a left guard or a tight end and blocking with them while they're like gonna go to some other school, whether it's in the SEC or another school in the Big Ten. That's got to be difficult for players to deal with.
The worst one would be just knowing a guy's bitching about their situation and you're trying to go like win a football game.
Yeah, it's like, brother, we're trying to win this game. That's all that matters. And Will and I are big drink the Kool-Aid guys. Like when we were playing our sport on our team, it was like we're living and breathing and dying for that team. I
really didn't want our scouts to bring in a lot of players that were transfer players, guys that quit at Michigan and went to Notre Dame and went from. I wanted guys that were finishers, that started and finished the job, signed up and executed their mission. Now you're going to have to adapt to that philosophy. Yeah. You're going to have to take some guys that are bouncing around. But I've met with some of these kids that have entered the portal, and a lot of it has to do with their situation. They don't have money. They don't have two parents. They weren't raised with everything given to them. They don't have any money. And all of a sudden you get somebody offer you $700,000 or $600,000. You can't blame these guys for chasing their dream and improving their family situation.
Yeah. And if you never had money before, it's hard to look at $700,000 and say, no, I'm going to hold out and wait. But there's another train of thought too. Is like, if you've been broke your whole life, what's being broke a couple more years and being a part of something special?
Yeah.
That's kind of the selling point. If like you're a Kenny Dillingham from ASU, it's like, listen, we can't offer you all the money in the world, but there's something special going on here, and eventually you're going to make that money. It's just hard, man.
Yeah, they just need to find a way to not make it free agency all year round.
Yeah,
because as a coach, you're already recruiting your ass off to get the next guys in, but you got to recruit your ass off for the guys that are there, and then these portal situations and opportunities open up like while you're in the middle of a season. So I just feel like it's something. There's got to be a solution that's going to come.
Well, you guys come from the big time. You guys come from Nebraska, Michigan. I played at Dayton. I got friends that coach in the Mid-American Conference. Just picture yourself at Toledo or Western Michigan or Kent State. You're coaching your ass off. You find these players that aren't five-star players, that are maybe one-star players. You feed them. You develop them. And as they become all-conference players in the Mid-American League, sophomores or juniors, here comes Nebraska, here comes Michigan. You take all my players, man, and you pay them. And what do I get? You know what I get? I get nothing. That pisses me off, man. So the smaller schools are the ones that are getting punched in the mouth, and that's just part of the program right now.
The friends and coaches that you know and have, is like some of their philosophy just recruiting guys to be like, hey, you can be this. This could be a stepping stone. I'll get you to the next league.
Yeah, I mean, recruiting now it's a totally different deal. You got some guy walking in your office that's managing. Hey, I got Taylor Lewan and Will Compton. Mm-hmm. This guy's representing you two guys. And he's telling me, hey, if you want Lewan and Compton, you got to pay him this and pay him that. And if you pay me, I'll make sure you get these two guys. So now you're dealing with a lot of variables that has nothing to do with football. And it's a problem. It's a problem.
That's a good point.
Didn't you tweet something yesterday about agents taking 20%?
Yeah. Look, there are agencies. And I mean, you were with CAA, like there's agencies where you get, like in the NFL, it's bigger contracts, bigger money to where you're paying the 1% to 3%. And then if you have like a marketing rep, there's like a 10 to 20% cut that they take if they were to get you Twisted Tea or Body Armor, you know what I mean? To be like in a commercial. So I understand that there are quality agencies that command 10 to 20% in total off of, $200,000-$300,000. I understand that. The problem I have is knowing that you have, and you learned about it in college, that these runners that take place, like you could be represented by Coach Gruden. He's your agent. He's your agency. I could be somebody that goes to Tennessee, Nebraska, and Michigan, just doing my own thing and getting your market, understanding, hey, if Taylor hit the portal, what would he be worth? $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. And then I DM and message you and start to poach and do all these things. And I know nothing about your situation, your experience, anything. I'm just trying to make a quick buck off you because I know I can get 20% if I start dangling these carrots in front of you. Like, hey, I know you're with him making 300,000, but I'm telling you right now, I'm feeling the temperature out there. You can make up to 700,000 if you come with me. And so there's just so many muddy waters. Nobody's out there, telling all the truths of it all because everybody, it's just an open market. The business has got to figure itself out. College football has got to step in and put some parameters somewhere. And guys, unfortunately, kids are going to have to unfortunately learn the hard way at times. And it's going to have to sort itself out. But that's like the issue I have is knowing that I get it. It's a business. It's an open market. We live in a free market. We want players to get paid. College football makes millions and billions of dollars off this stuff. I understand all that. But we know at the same time too, like we were those players, we were those guys in college, and you understand how important development is, how important adversity is, how important being forged in the fire is. And maybe you are in a situation where, hey, you should transfer. But there's a lot of guys that just get the wrong information, bad information, and they're getting bad mentoring, or they're getting no mentoring at all. They're just chasing money when it's like, I just hate to see that happen with kids.
I know.
I hate to see that happen with college football because it hurts the product and ultimately leaks into the NFL to where that's, that becomes a bad product because the fundamentals and technique is off. It's way worse just because of the quality. These kids aren't going and choosing football because they want to be great football players. They think they want to, but then they get bedazzled by money and everything else. And again, I understand it. I just hate this wild west that we're living in because it's hard to figure out what this NIL world is because nobody really talks about it a whole lot. There's a lot of shit that goes on.
That was really freaking well. I mean, that was well said right there.
I mean, think about it. Like, Coach Norvell, he's with Colorado State. He was kind of talking on it, but his coaches can't speak on it too much because you don't know all the legalities going on.
Right.
You're in with the NIL collective. Like, they have their own stories and drama. Coaches understand what their situation is. Players understand what their situation is. It's fucking bizarre right now.
And as a coach, as a college coach, your whole thing with these young players, these 18 to 22-year-olds, is all about limiting distractions. And when we were, I was 09 to 13, you were 08 to 12.
Yeah.
When you're there in college, then it's a game of like limiting distractions with alcohol, with assholes and women. Like that, those are the big three pillars. Now you're throwing money in the whole thing too, because as a player, you're looking at that pot of gold at the end of the dark tunnel. But now there's little flickers of lights with a little bag here, a little bag there that can get you on the wrong path, and then you don't get forged in the fire. You lose a technique and you become a lesser football player that hurts you in the end. That when you're 25 years old, a couple years in the league, that second contract might not be as good, which would be way more money than you would have ever made in college. Yeah. So it's a whole thing.
I just hate the money hungry.
It makes it interesting though.
And snakes that are out there that are all
what's
business.
really interesting, man, is sitting here looking at you two guys on this bus, man. I mean, I've known you guys as players, and I've seen you guys on this bus. And to think that you guys have turned this into, an unbelievable deal. I mean, you guys are killing it.
We interrupt this episode to bring you body armor. This episode...
What's this episode brought to us by? No, keep it in.
We interrupt this episode because this episode is brought to you by the Body Armor Sports Drink. Real hydration, real ingredients, packed with electrolytes, vitamins, and nothing artificial. Body Armor Sports Drink has great tasting flavors like strawberry banana or Taylor's personal favorite, that orange mango.
I love the orange
Get
mango.
yours today or at a local grocery store near you. Drink Body Armor, hydrate with Body Armor, and enjoy the rest of this episode.
I hate to interrupt you guys and change subjects, but this NIL kind of rubs me wrong. But, success on the field is one thing, but transition and for all the young guys out there, can you just tell me how you transitioned into this thing right here and have created and reinvented yourselves here? This is pretty freaking cool, man.
Yeah. If you want to take the first part of that. Because it's a story we've told a lot on the bus, but it is cool.
But a lot of players, they get out of football, they kind of search for their next game, their next thing. How did you guys do this?
Yeah, I speaking for myself, I feel like I was in year 6 with the Tennessee Titans. And Coach, like when I got to play for you, like I cut my teeth into the league with your brother at Washington. And in my situation, if I'm a backup and a special teams guy, I don't want anybody to get hurt. But if I'm going to get my opportunity, you're going to need the guy to go down in front of you. And then, hey, I get to show him what I'm about. I can show him that I can rock the green dot, do all those things. And so when I didn't get that opportunity in my 6th year, I'm kind of sitting there with myself. There's things I'm interested in. I know I want to coach. I have interest in like the real estate. You're trying to figure out where your curiosities go because at some point the game is going to end. It's going to end sooner than you think. And it's probably not going to end on your terms like most guys. And so just knowing that I loved podcasting, I ended up asking Taylor if he wanted to start a podcast with me. He was all in. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, people do make money in this podcasting world. If we could, have the, if we're able to spin it and transition and use this as a transitional point, like, how great would that be? And so for me, it was like, all right, I'm going to start a podcast. I could play myself out of the league because nobody in the NFL world's really doing it. McAfee retired to go into Barstool Media and then the media in general, but nobody's really doing it. And I know how coaches and I know how front office and people can feel about players being on a public platform, especially when it's like, I wasn't in a situation where I'm getting this big second contract. Like, I was going into that offseason knowing I was going to be a 90-man guy having to make a 53 roster, and who wants any of that luggage or extra drama? So I'm like, if I play myself out of the league, but it's, if we're able to transition and create something like, then that's just the risk that I'll take. Fortunately, I got to continue doing it and being on the podcast, doing the podcast, being on the bus, going to play for you, playing with the Titans again and doing it for a few more years. But ultimately for me, it was like, hey, this game is going to end at some point. I need to understand where my interests are, where my curiosity lies, and try to do whatever I can to have the autonomy to do it myself before I have to go like work for the man. And who knows if I'm working for the man, if it's going to be in the right situation. Mm-hmm. When you're done playing football, we get catered to our entire lives. The structure's there. You get a motivational speech. You understand how tough it is. You want to be forged in the fire. You have all those skills to transition. However, you don't get the highs of playing at that elite level of the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. Going out there on prime time, winning with a band of brothers. Yeah. And when that gets pulled away, a lot of guys struggle because it's like, where's our next roller coaster? Where's our next high? We played on such a high level. The logo, even though they tell you, Coach Gruden, you guys got to sacrifice for this logo. Everything you guys pour into this, we're doing it for the team. The minute the team you're not on the team anymore, that logo isn't calling you back to make sure you get your next job. Mm-hmm. So it's all about how can we control our situation? And I feel like we've been able to create Bussin' With The Boys. And it's been incredible because the big thing you miss when you leave is the locker room. Right. And we've gotten to create something off that. But that was like my train of thought going into Bussin' With The Boys.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you kind of see like Will and I's past, how different they were entering the NFL. Because when I got a scholarship offer in Scottsdale, Arizona for the first time, it was from Utah State. Right then and there, I thought to myself, I'm going to the NFL. Like, that is now my path of life is very clear. And as a football player who lives, breathes, and eats and loves the game of football, you truly think the most honorable death is probably to die in between the hashes. Like, that is kind of the way you want to go. You look in the mirror before a game with tears in your eyes and you think, if today is the day I go, like, it's a good fucking day. And then it's time to go out there. So for me, I was always a guy that's like, I was never focused on what's next. I was always focused on right now. And it was, playing well and getting to the NFL. So I go to Michigan, I become a first round pick. And when Will Compton comes to the Tennessee Titans, I just signed the biggest deal in NFL history for an offensive lineman. To me, everything is going according to plan, where I'm not seeing the inevitable end of what every player has to go through. Even if you're Tom Brady, who's can beat Father Time, like, you are always going to, the game's always going to walk away from you before you walk away from it. So when Will approaches me about doing a podcast, I'm thinking to myself, dude, like, I guess. And I just, in my head, I compartmentalize it as like, well, people do real estate, people do stocks. Like, this is the same thing. It's just an investment. I just happen to be in the public eye. And you mentioned it in the locker room. I'm not like your stereotypical offensive lineman, a seen, not heard type of guy. I'm very much seen and very much heard. So like, it was an opportunity for me to kind of like allow this personality to come out. And it was like, to me, I thought like, I don't know what this is going to be. This might be just a fun little game.
And guys take a couple hours a day to play video games when they're at home. It's like, you're coming in just ripping for a couple hours. Ripping a podcast. And it turned into this, and it couldn't have happened at a better time. I remember I bought, so the house I live in now, I bought the land and I was building. And Will and I were walking around the property, and it was like right before the season or right after the season. And Will's like, this is my last year. I don't want to do it again. I played that game with him for 3 more years. Every year it was, this is my last year. I don't want to do it again. And then it was like, maybe I can sneak in, get rid of camp. And then he started playing the game. And so like, while we're both still playing in the NFL, Bussin's kind of just like chugging along and getting more and more followers. And people are more and more into Barstool,
it.
Which
got
was
with
incredible.
Barstool early and often, which you're going to come to find out is like the greatest teacher in this world. It gives you the ability to be yourself, unapologetically be yourself, the good and the bad, and everyone be like, that's all right. You're a part of Barstool. You can do whatever you want here. And so it is, It's interesting how it all turned out. And you just kind of look back and you're like, it's kind of fucking crazy. Like in my mind, I'm like, I kind of just lucked into this. I kind of just like fell into meeting Will, and Will wanted to do this, and he wanted the safety blanket of doing it with somebody else, and I happened to be the safety blanket.
Our chemistry too.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful chemistry.
Like when you signed the big deal, there's a part in my brain, I'm like, well, the team won't be able to touch him because he's the highest paid player on their team. Yeah. If I play myself out, I'm just not going to get a phone call again.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck it. Let's
we knew we had 3 years of guarantee to do what we wanted. It ended up working out. Yeah. It ended up working out for us.
Coach Gruden ends up calling, and I go out to Oakland.
Yeah. But you've dealt with a lot of transition too. When you were going from the NFL into commentating, like a lot of coaches try to do that. A lot of coaches try to dip their toe into the media space, but you came in and you murdered it. The ability to know what every player's college they went to and their mascot, and you just talk about guys as if you've known them for 20 years. How was that transition for you from going from coaching to media?
Well, I was a communications major in college. Mm-hmm. I always wanted to do the news. I always wanted to be a sportscaster, really, if I wasn't going to coach. Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
Oh, you're right. Good. If you want to answer that too, do whatever you got to do. You kind of want to take that, don't you?
No, I'm sorry I didn't turn it off. But Mike Tirico was the key for me. I mean, I got fired. I was really humbled. I was really down. And the NFL Network called me and asked me to come to the Combine and do some segments covering the Combine. Steve Mariucci's a friend of mine. He says, come on. So I got right up to the Combine. I said, I can't do it. I was just humiliated. I didn't want to go to the Combine and see all my coaching friends after just being fired. I was embarrassed. So Mooch says, come on, let's go. So I ended up doing it. And I guess I did pretty good. And some guys at Monday Night Football saw me and we had a chance to interview. But when I met Tirico, long story short, he helped me big time. He threw me grapefruits that I could hit. He would hit me, and probe me. And he really helped me with my preparation and my confidence. But it was a transition that was pretty interesting. I really enjoyed the 3-man booth when we had Jaworski up there because we would bust each other's balls. And it was almost like 3 guys at a bar watching a football game. That's what I felt like. But it was a great transition, a lot of fun. And it allowed me to get the tapes, keep studying. We got our quarterback camp going in the spring, which kind of kept me going with the draft and ultimately led to my return to the Raiders. Unfortunately, I didn't last long.
Yeah. Talk about how hard it was to transition. You're talking about being embarrassed and humiliated. You were like a Super Bowl winning coach, and you were somebody who got traded.
Yeah, well, that was hard too. But, when you get fired – you guys know how it is. You eventually, even you got cut. Mm-hmm. That's it. Maybe you decided yourself, but maybe you saw the writing on the wall. Yeah. At some point, somebody says, "Hey, you're out. The trigger. Yeah, you're fired," and it catches you. But when I did go back, it was a lot different. The world had completely changed. What's really hard is hiring a coaching staff. When you're the head coach, the most important thing you got to do is hire the right coaches. I'm going to call the plays and coach the quarterbacks. That's just how I did it. But you better hire the right defensive staff. You better get the right personnel group around you that sees the vision that you have for the team, or vice versa. We have to see it the same way. But that was a big challenge, is surrounding yourself with guys that you grew up with. A lot of those guys had their own jobs. They couldn't get out of their contracts. It's a pain in the ass, man, getting your network together on the same staff so you can go in and do what you want to do.
When you are picking out those coaches, you're talking about your buddies. How hard is it to get a phone call from a guy that you maybe have known for a long time that you know is not the right person for the job? What's that conversation like?
Oh man, it's hard. You got to say, I'm going in another direction, and you lose some friends. Mm-hmm. It's hard to have a lot of friends. Sometimes you got to turn a guy down. You can't do it. You got a job open. Hey, I need the job. I don't have a job. I need this job. And you got to let them down, and sometimes it costs you. But there's a lot of hard lessons and mental toughness that you got to understand come with being the head coach.
Yeah. When you were in media for those 9 years, was the goal always to get back in the NFL and be a coach?
It was initially. I thought I'd be right back in doing something.
Right.
But the more I got around Tirico and Jaworski and the dun, 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 dun. I mean, I fucking love that song, man.
Yeah.
And there was a certain as a kid growing up, I loved Monday Night Football. My mom and dad would let me stay up to watch the highlights at halftime, Howard Cosell and Frank Gifford. I felt honored to be on Monday Night Football. But I ultimately knew I had to get back on the sidelines. And I still miss it, man. I still would like to take one more swing. But Right now, I'm bussing with the boys, and I'm with Barstool, and I'm having fun, man.
Are you hoping to get back on the sideline?
Well, I mean, fantasy. I live in fantasy world a little bit. I'm no different than I was when I was 18 years old. I fantasize about stuff, and I still fantasize about getting a can of whoop ass and going out there with a bunch of guys and just kicking the shit out of some people. I just like that competitive game day feeling. I just, you can't get that anywhere else, man.
The butterflies, the juice. Were you ever a smelling salt guy? You ever take
No,
one of
I
those to
never
the
did
dome?
that. I never
No?
had to do that.
The smelling salts were always, it just adds that level of anxiety to a whole new fun level.
Yeah.
But dude, when the Jets fired their head coach, I think it was it Booger, came out and he's like, one name you need to think about right now is Jon Gruden. And for the last couple of years, your name wasn't really thrown around the whole coaching realm. And all of a sudden, your name is now starting to find its way back into the NFL. When you start to hear that, are you getting phone calls about anything, or are you just the media starting to talk and you're letting them do their thing? Because that's how everything works. All it takes is one person to say your name, and then it's slowly like a snowball. It just starts getting bigger and bigger as it rolls down a hill.
Just a few conversations. I think the big thing I'm trying to do right now is coach people that I have the FFCA. I have
a
an
fantasy
office.
factory down there.
I have my own.
Football
I got
facility.
my video tapes, and I'm obsessed with it. We have a lot of coaches, a lot of players, just different coaching staffs that have come in, and we study football. And I really am getting my fix doing that. I really don't need this NIL stuff. I would give me a heart attack.
Would you coach college?
I might if it was a big program with a lot of NIL money, because I'd buy a lot of players, man.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, I could walk across when we play Nebraska. You know what I'd do after the game? I'd go find the 2 or 3 guys that aren't playing a lot that I like. I'd say, you know what, you got to get your ass out of here. Come play. I would do a good job of that.
Yeah.
I could see
Just
myself
snaking around,
but
going
that's
behind
just
Matt
not
Rule's
how
back.
I'm wired. I just am not wired like they're doing business now in college. I can't deal with a lot of this financial,
Right.
paying you $1 million and the weak side linebacker gets 100.
Right.
Or this guy here, this guy gets nothing. I just have a hard time with the salary structure and the whole overall operation, but that's just me.
When you see a guy like Bill Belichick with the resume that he has, looking at UNC, is it confirmed now? Is he now the Tar Heels head coach?
He said he's willing to coach.
He's willing to coach.
At the time we're recording this, the post that I saw was like the North Carolina Tar Heels, they would know their decision within 24 hours.
With Bill Belichick coaching now in college. Like, what's your thought process seeing that?
I'm not really shocked, as many people are. I think he's got a son who's a very good young coach.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity to maybe bring your son with you to Chapel Hill. You guys ever been to Chapel Hill?
Have not.
There's a lot of good stuff there, man. To go to Chapel Hill, finish your coaching career with your son, perhaps get the program back to where people say, wow, we got to play North Carolina. And maybe someday have your son take over. Maybe that's something that's in the cards. I don't know. But he's got a new girlfriend. I see that all over the internet. Things don't ever stay the same. You either get better or worse. And I think Belichick might be looking for something a little different. How would you like to live in New England for 15 years? You might want to go to Chapel Hill, man.
Go
with
to Chapel Hill,
pretty
hang
young
out.
girlfriend, have some fun, kick some ass, and be with your son. I think Belichick is capable of doing just about anything in football. He's already done it. And good for him if he chooses to get into the NCAA. How would you like that, though, if you're coaching in the ACC, you're at Wake Forest or you're at Duke, you're the Miami Hurricanes, and you open up with Bill Belichick?
I know.
Wouldn't that be
bro.
cool?
I know.
Got his
That
cutoff
would be
sweater
nuts.
on.
Yeah.
I was impressed by how well he's done in the media this year. I did not think with all, you heard like Gronkowski and Edelman and Brady kind of like chirp about it, talk about how bland he is and how he's kind of
we
like,
got to see it for 15 years.
yeah, got to see it just kind of talking to the media. And now he comes in, he's doing Manning cast, he's on Pat McAfee show, and he does an incredible job. Did you expect that?
No, I really didn't. But as I said, I don't know Bill Belichick like a lot of guys do. I don't hang around with the defensive guys. The offensive guys get on this bus. The defensive guys have always been on that bus. But I remember when I was coaching the Raiders, I got a call from Bill, and he says, "Hey, I heard you like Bon Jovi." My wife we love Bon Jovi. I go, yeah, we really do like him. He's playing in San Jose Saturday night. You want to meet him and get 2 tickets? I say, hell yeah. So I've always been indebted to Bill Belichick.
Oh, that's awesome.
But he's a cool guy, man. I mean, he is a really cool guy. And I just think it's exciting at his age to reinvent himself and come back perhaps as a college coach says a lot about him.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
talk about you have this football facility
Yeah.
in Tampa. What does your week look like? Like, when do you wake up? How is your routine on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I got to have a routine, Monday through Sunday. I have to have a routine. I always did as a coach. But Monday, I really like to go in there and look for my grinders, studying and looking at the Sunday, the games, the statistics, the playtime percentages, who did what. My tapes really come in Tuesday morning. So Monday, I'm kind of, getting my boards ready, who really played well in third down, who had the best scoring game. I want to see those games. How did Russell Wilson throw for 400 yards? I can't wait till the tape comes in. But I kind of set up my Tuesday film study based on what I see Monday. And then Tuesday is like an all day. That's why it's crazy. I'm here flying out on Tuesday. I couldn't get to my tapes, man. But, then Wednesday I try to work on my presentation. I believe you got to do the preparation. You got to study the tapes. For me to say this guy's playing good, I want to see that he's playing good. If this guy's playing bad, you read about it, I got to see he's struggling, But I do the preparation. Then on Wednesday, I start the presentation, start to send out my boards, who I like, and I draw all my stuff up. And then Thursday, I get into some behind-the-scenes things. I like to study red zone, just different short yardage things, different running backs, just different things. But I love to study 3 hard days, and then I do like to get out on Friday if I can't hit the golf ball.
Yeah.
I'm
What time
getting
are you
better.
waking up throughout the week?
I get up early, 4:30, 5 o'clock, not like I used to, but my office is right down the street, half a mile from my house.
Guys,
So,
let me just
yeah.
pause you for a second. You said 4:30, 5 o'clock, not like I used to. What did you used to get up
I
at?
used to get up 3 o'clock, 3:17. Every day, 3:17 was my number.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
What time would you go to bed?
I go to bed early. I go to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock. I try to be in bed by 10 o'clock at the latest.
Said 10:10. That's wild.
What is that? What do the hours look like when you are the head coach? Are you there till midnight and waking up at?
No, I could never do it at night. And I didn't want my coaches to feel like they had to come in at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. I didn't want them to feel like that at all. But I had to get in there early, nobody bothering you. Nobody's bitching. Nobody's phone's ringing. I had to focus my concentration on the scripts, the cards. You got to draw the cards, the tip sheets for the quarterbacks. And, I try to get out when the work is done. I did not want to be in there all night. Now, when I worked for the Raiders, Al Davis was a night guy. So I would be a morning guy, and then Al would come in at 7 o'clock at night. He almost killed me that first year. Finally, I said, hey, something's got to give, man. I just can't stay in here till midnight. But that was a tough year. Al broke me in pretty good, man. He sure did.
We had
We ended up this episode to bring you Sport Clips. Are you tired of the waiting game and wanting to get your hair cut? I feel you, dude. But guess what? Sport Clips has a game-changing feature on their app called Haircut Tracker. No more awkwardly sitting in the waiting room like a bench player while you watch people get their hair cut. The Haircut Tracker lets you cut to the chase. Track real-time wait times and swoop in right on time. That was supposed to be a rhyme, and I obviously messed up the rhyme. But if you guys trust me, that's a good rhyme. For that fresh cut, it's like having a personal assistant for your hair right in your pocket. So grab your phone, download the app, and always know where you stand. Sport Clips. It's a game changer. Let's get back to this episode.
Man, I want to talk about the time you recruited me to come back to the Raiders.
Yeah.
If you can remember, I'll recall it a little bit. So I was there the last 5 games for Oakland. We had fun. Like, we weren't having the best season. Went out on a decent note defensively. And Coach Gruden brings me in for an exit meeting. Not like the NIL exit meetings where it's like, hey, you got to pay me this or I'm not coming back. But he brings me in on an exit meeting. Coach Gruden's like, I need Will Compton back. Like, you're not going to be a Hall of Famer. You're not going to be a Pro Bowler. I'm sitting there in my head like, I'm still playing. Like, yeah, I understand I can't be I probably won't be a Pro Bowler, but I can still aspire to still have a little bit of juice in the tank.
Could be a Pro Bowler though.
Yeah,
Hall of Famer will put that
right.
in the closet. We'll walk
He's
that
saying
one
this.
up.
He's like, I want you around. We need more Will Comptons on the team, and I don't know what's going to happen in free agency. Yada yada yada. Because I got to play and start like 3 games there at the end, which I'm thinking in my head when I went out there and I did my workout. I was on the squad. I was in the backup. I was special teams. I was starting in base that fucking first week. I mean, Coach Gruden comes up. He's like, hey, just don't even think out there. Go out there and make plays. Have fun. I love you, man.
That's awesome.
I'm like,
Who's
all
the
right, hell
who
yeah.
would you play first week?
The Lions. We played the Lions the first week. And so I ended up taking over the job, finishing out those 3 games. And so I'm thinking in my head, I thought I was coming out there to kind of finish out my career. Like, let me go out there. I'll go out on a bang, have some fun, be for the boys, bring some merchandise, promote Bussin', and just have a good time. Because the stress is off of like, I felt like my career was kind of done after I got injured with the Saints. And so it's like, oh, okay, I get to go out here and play. Like, I'm just going to go have fun and finish off playing the game that I started loving. And so when I played those 3 games, I'm thinking in my head, like, maybe I might get a little something. I knew I bought myself a year or 2 just because I got to play again. I got to have some film. But they go in to recruit me. They pay $50 million to like Littleton and Kwiatkowski, great linebackers, good linebackers. But I'm thinking in my head, like, I thought I might get a little bit of coin.
Get 2 or 3.
Yeah.
He
Like,
wanted
hook me up.
guaranteed money is what he wanted.
Yeah, everyone does.
you know.
Every player does.
What I'm interested in, though, is I have this philosophy. It's called RCE. You should get a hat and put RCE on it. Recognition, communication, execution. I think you got to have it at quarterback. The guy's got to recognize the defense and then communicate the line call, the audible, whatever. And that's going to lead to high levels of execution. The thing I loved about Will is he could recognize the offense. He could recognize the situation, and he could communicate better than most guys I've seen at linebacker. He was a sharp guy, and that would lead to higher levels of execution. A lot of the yards you see are bullshit yards. Bad tackling, bad defensive entry, mistakes, a lack of recognition, a lack of communication. And if we can have that piece and a secure piece, that's what I was really after. But you were, let's be honest here, you could come on with that smiley face with that microphone. You wanted guaranteed money, and I can't blame the guys. Go out to California and play football, Vegas.
Yeah, that was the first year transitioning to Vegas.
Yeah.
Because they had offered, I had a minimum on the table with no signing bonus, which is like the game's the game. There was no market for me. So they were in a spot to where it's like, nothing else is out there for you. We'll offer you this. And, I got PG calling me. He's like explaining everything. He's like, and Coach Gruden's like, I just want you around. I want them to see you communicate all this stuff. You don't have to practice. You don't have to do this. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I just came out there as a minimum player and proved that I could play like the week of the game. Like, I can do the same exact thing and not put wear and tear on my body for training camp.
Right.
And I'm telling
It was always training camp with you.
It was always training camp. It was always just getting it. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
always training camp. And PG was like, can you call Coach Gruden and tell him the same stuff? Because he's coming in. He's like, how are we signing Prince Amukamara and Nelson Aguilar? And Will won't come out here to the Raiders. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be happy to talk to him. I called Coach Gruden, and I think he was just finishing a workout. It sounded like he was sweating a little bit. He's like, Will Compton? He's like, you're harder to sign than Keyshawn Johnson, man. How do we get you out here to the Raiders? And I'm thinking, yeah, I bet you over Keyshawn Johnson more than a minimum and a Subway gift card. And we're like bantering, laughing back and forth. And I always loved that story. I couldn't wait to tell my old man because he's always been a massive fan of football and yourself. Mm-hmm. But that's my recruiting story with Coach Gruden. You're harder to sign than Keyshawn Johnson, man. I'm like, well, fuck. I mean, I'm sure you paid him some money.
Yeah. You had some characters in that Raiders team. What was your interactions like with Richie Incognito?
Love him.
Great guy.
Incognito's out of football. He had the episode with Miami. Mm-hmm. He's out of the league. And we brought him in for a workout. And we have the cones set up. We got Tom Cable, really good line coach, been with Seattle a long time. And Incognito comes out and he's listening to Tom Cable tell him what he wants him to do. He wants him to hop, basically, the first 10 yards, karaoke, do a couple other things just to showcase his athleticism and his whatever, how he can bend and twist. Incognito goes around the thing one time, half speed, and Cable goes, I've seen enough.
Really?
He's a great Incognito's a really good athlete.
I had the
People don't
opportunity to train with
understand.
him. Yeah.
He went to Nebraska. He's a little full of shit like Compton. Mm-hmm. But, he has the it factor that we needed. He had the nastiness. He has the Taylor Lewan personality. He's very outgoing. He's not afraid to say something. He'll make you laugh. He'll piss you off. Mm-hmm. He had everything we needed at guard, and he could pull on the power plays and adjust. He has a great ability to get out on screens, but I love being around him. He comes to Tampa. We play golf a little bit. He likes my wife. My wife's about this tall, and he's been through a lot in his life. Mm-hmm. But He's really a character. We had Vontaze Burfict. We had traded for Antonio Brown. They put us on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
What a collection I was assembling. You
were-
guys.
yes. Having
I was
Von-
trying to bring back the old Raiders, the 75, 80
And
Raiders.
You did it. How was it? What was it like having Burfict and AB on the same team? Because obviously there's the whole thing about CTE, ESPN that AB's
Yeah.
doing, and you see the hit that Burfict put on AB.
Yeah.
Like, was there ever? Did you have to make amends there? Did you?
I
Ever pull
never
him in
got
the room?
around Antonio enough. You know, Antonio showed up on a hot air balloon. He had his feet fried. He had cryotherapy. I never even heard of cryotherapy. And he had an issue with his helmet. He wasn't happy the NFL wouldn't let him wear his helmet. So we really never got him around the guys very much. I didn't have very much interaction with them at all. Really, one of the most frustrating things in my coaching career was not getting him to play for us.
Mm-hmm.
We had a mini camp. I tell you, we had a mini camp back in Oakland. He put on a display. He took some of our routes that we like to call lookies. I got all these words. He made the routes look better than anybody I've ever seen. And his conditioning was sick. If we didn't have a fence around the field, he might have got killed by a car because he finishes everything. He'll run 100 miles an hour. I thought I went home and got hammered one night after minicamp. I told my wife, I said, we're going to complete every pass. That's how good this guy looked. He was phenomenal. And unfortunately, I never got him for one freaking game.
What's the conversation with Mayock when they're like, you walk in, you're like, hey, what's the problem with AB? And they're like, doesn't like his helmet. Oh, his feet were fried from cryotherapy. Like,
Yeah.
what are those upstairs conversations like when you're trying to deal with a guy like that?
Well, Mike was a new GM too,
Mhm.
so a lot of this stuff is first time, and
What an experience! What a first year!
it was a rough deal. And you're on Hard Knocks, by the way.
yeah.
Then you got Vontaze Burfict, but the two of those guys, they mixed pretty good. They kind of laugh with one another, and Richie was kind of like the third part of the party. Those conversations were great. You
I
talk
can't imagine
about
being in a
ball
room with
busting.
them. Yeah.
You talk about busting with the boys. You should see some of the boys I bust with. But I always felt this: if you have football character on your team, and we felt our coaching staff, you know, we had Derek Carr, we had some really good veteran players, good football character. Let's bring in some characters. So we bring in Burfict. You know, Burfict really he's a great guy, and he's a smart guy. He just knocks the shit out of you. And what's wrong with that? I mean, I that's my feeling. And I think if you do have the character in place, you can bring in some characters and have some fun. And Richie Incognito is a great guy. Don't kid yourself on Burfict either. He's really smart. And he's really a hell of a guy. He's misunderstood, perhaps by some. And I really enjoyed Antonio Brown. I mean, hell, he went out with my son. He cut a song. They got a song out there. I'm not even going to tell you the name.
We got to find that.
we gotta
Electronic
find
dance
that song. Sherm will definitely find that thing before day's end.
And even on Incognito too, like he was how old was he? He was like the oldest player on the team.
34, 35
on
years
that
old.
roster.
Yep.
And he was a pro. I'm talking about like whenever practice would end, he had the massage therapist that'd be coming in, the needling he'd be getting done, like somebody who like took care of his body around the clock.
And working out with him in Arizona, he is a guy that like doesn't necessarily look like an athlete, but is truly athletic. Like he has all the pieces of an offensive line you'd want. And he's stout too.
Incognito, yeah. I mean, we remember the COVID where you can't have meetings with the players in person. So we would have Zoom meetings. So you would see all the players on their little, corner. You'd be having an offensive line meeting and you'd see the 15 offensive linemen. You'd have a team meeting and you could see a lot of the faces. So I remember Incognito one time took all his clothes off, was walking around in his garage, He just did things that were so off the wall hilarious to keep everybody laughing. God bless that guy.
The babyface killer, man.
Yeah.
He hasn't aged a bit. Look at that face.
You got to see him hit a golf ball.
He can play. He's an athlete.
He is an
athlete, man. He
Wrong person to get on the bad side with on
No-
the football field. Like
no
he was one
doubt
of
about
those dudes that was a menace on just field goal.
Yeah. Oh,
Just
really?
trying to finish you on field. Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't want to deal with that.
You want to get him going to hopefully draw a penalty.
I wish I was able to play with him. I would have loved to play. I think he was with Buffalo for a minute. There was a little bit of talk about him coming to the Titans, and I was like, man, that'd be awesome to play right next to him for a year.
Well, let
'Cause
me
we
ask
had a
you.
great
Let me ask you
relationship.
this: you played one of the toughest positions there are, man. Who are some of the guys now that play left tackle that you look at and say, hey, he's really good? Who are they these days? It's easy to say Trent Williams, but he's not playing right now.
Yeah, well, Trent to me I think is the greatest of all time. I think he is, from an athletic standpoint, from a strength standpoint, understanding, because with offensive line, like you're playing every single snap of the game, and they say to go hard every single play. He has a true understanding of like if you're the backside on power and you're doing a hinge, like you have a very easy job. You take care of the B gap, you wing out, the end's coming down, you just block him out real quick. So he does a great job of picking and chooses his times to attack in the game. A guy that I love his feet is Laremy Tunsil. I know we talked about Houston having some struggles, but I think his feet are maybe the best feet I've ever seen. I think Ronnie Stanley, he's got a poetic movement about him when he's in his pass set. He's very smooth, and a guy who was injured and has now come back, and I play with him, Jack Conklin. Talk about a guy that has zero technique, has zero fundamentals when it comes to playing the position, but just always gets the job done. I like those guys quite a bit.
They got a guy in Tampa I really like, this Tristan Wirfs.
Oh my God, yeah, Tristan
he's a power
awesome
player playing left tackle.
Have you seen the video when he was coming out for the draft and him jumping out of the pool?
Who can do that?
That type of power is just different. And then we talked about him too, is Joe Alt. I like Joe Alt quite a bit too, like a young guy who's found his way on a run-heavy offense that I'm a big fan of.
And embracing the move to right tackle.
Yeah.
Because you talking about that, like, you know, some guys, like he was telling you at the draft, he didn't want to play right tackle.
There it is right there.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's wild how Iowa gets these offensive linemen, man.
I know, and them white cornerbacks.
Yeah, and then Micah Becton. Was it Micah Becton? That's who we were talking about.
Yeah, Mekhi Becton. He's
Becton.
a left tackle. He's out of Louisville. He goes to New York, and the media gets on him, and they let him go, and he gets with the right coach and reinvents him, puts him in there at right guard.
It's really important for the position groups at all times. I'm sure it's important for everywhere, but for an offensive line coach especially, because you got DBs and they're all like, they're not playing as one unit. They all have their own job. Some might be in zone, some might be in man. You're playing 2 high, 1 high. And then receivers, you have all your different routes. But with an offensive line, it's like truly all 5 guys have to be on the same page with what everybody's doing. That's just such a different job. You need a good offensive line coach to be successul. You got to have it.
Oh my God, that's probably the most important hire. You know, if you're the head coach, your defensive coordinator, and your line coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you gotta get somebody that can be the 6th man, that can play both guards and center, a swing tackle. Those are tough jobs, man.
What were those conversations like with the swing guys when you have a guy like me? I was a guy that only played left. Like I couldn't. You put me in a right-handed stance, I'm as worthless as a football player as you'll ever see.
Well, I think the good line coach. Well, you're the left tackle. You're the highest paid left tackle. We're not going to talk about you for a minute, but other guys on the practice field. Bill Callahan was my line coach for a long time.
Yeah.
He's currently with the Titans.
Yeah.
His son's the head coach.
Yeah.
But he would go out on the practice field, and we'd have Lewan playing right guard. I'm like, Bill, what the hell are you doing? And then we got Lewan's playing right tackle 2 days later. But my point is, he would create your versatility. He would force you to get in a right-handed stance, a left-handed stance, a 2-point stance, a 4-point stance. And I think you have to have a line coach and a backup line coach who studies a play side to back side. It's always on your ass every second of the day. Those are what the great ones do, you know. And I think, as you said, that's a key part of being a great lineman, is who's coaching you.
We had with Vrabel. Vrabel was always a guy that would just find his way into the offensive line room, and he would just tell us how to block, having no idea how to block offensive line. He just just get in the way. All you have to do, you don't just position block this guy. Were you ever a guy that would just wander into position groups and just hang out for a little bit?
Not really. I was pretty much always on the offensive side, you know, but I would try to reach out to the defensive guys later in the week. I always had a lot of respect for our pass rushers. You know, we have to have a 4th quarter pass rush or we got no chance. That's why I can't wait to see these playoffs. Warren Sapp, Simeon Rice. You have to have guys that can close you out. And that's why I love the 49ers if Bosa plays. But now without Bosa, without Armstead, they don't have that 4th quarter pass rush.
Yeah.
That's why the Chiefs can win the Super Bowl every year, because they do have a great coach and a great quarterback, but they got a 4th quarter pass rush, man.
Yeah.
And if you have those 3, you have to have those 3 elements, I think, to win it. But I was always interested in the game plan of our pass rushers. What are you going to do to Lewan? You know, what are you going to do to Lewan? But as you know, you don't want to be in 3rd and 7. You don't want to have a lot of 3rd and 8s.
No.
You know, and when you do get to 3rd and 7, you got to be careful as a play caller to make sure we have a chip over there. We got somebody nudging the guy, quick game screens. You got to do some things to help these guys, because in the noise against some of these guys, It's a bitch. It's a hard job you got,
You've
man.
either got to chip these guys, slide to the most dangerous pass rusher, or have a quarterback that can facilitate and get the ball out quickly. And that was one thing we had Ken Wisenhunt for 2014 and 15, and Ken was like, this is my offense, but he's been dealing with Phillip Rivers for the last 10 years. So we have Jake Locker and Zach Mettenberger eventually after Jake hurts his thumb, and it's all key right and key left. We're doing 6-man protections. We're not doing chips ever. And we don't have the quarterback that understands the offense well enough to know where his hots are or when to get the ball out or where the man side protection is with Von Miller on that side. So it was tough sled for a couple of years. But you need those chips. You got to have them. One play that you're obsessed with, Spider 2 Y Banana.
Yeah.
What's the obsession? It's a max protection type of situation, a low red type of situation. Why do you love it so much?
Andrew Luck. We had Andrew Luck on our show, Gruden's QB camp. And David Shaw, the head coach at Stanford, was on my staff in Philly and in Oakland. Well, Stanford runs a lot of Spider 2 Y Banana. And I have never met a quarterback coming out of college like Andrew Luck. I mean, he had everything. 6'4", 240. He could run. And probably the smartest guy I've ever met play the position. So they're running Spider 2 Y Banana at Stanford, unlike I've ever seen. And I'm just studying, getting ready for Andrew Luck. And I'm seeing Spider 2 Y Banana, Spider 3 Y Banana, Spider. The guy's putting on a clinic, throwing. But Spider 2 Y Banana, they must have thrown 15 touchdowns. I'm not shitting you. So they're playing USC. Stanford is playing USC. Big game, college football game day is there. Spider 2 Y Banana is very simple. You hit the fullback in the flat. Or if the tight end pops, you might hit the tight end to the corner. You never throw the ball backside on Spider 2 Y Banana. Well, Andrew Luck on Spider 2 Y Banana against USC throws a pick 6, throwing to the backside. He called it a lightning route or something. So as soon as I got to that play, his face got red as a sheet. And we busted his balls on that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of went viral, whatever the word is you guys use,
Yeah.
when something hits with fans. But it was a cool moment. And ever since then, Spider 2 Y Banana. But it is a hell of a play. If you're running power, if you're running the rock, if you're running Mike Allstott on 96 power, and your linebackers are worried about tackling that big sumbitch, watch out. We'll slip a fullback into the flat.
Spider 2 Y Banana.
Spider 2 Y Banana. Yeah.
Who are some of the teams right now that are kind of in the middle of the pack that you could see winning the whole thing?
I think Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I think someone's going to come out of the north. I still think Pittsburgh's dangerous. I mean, they're leading their division, but when you look at their schedule, them and Baltimore, I kind of consider them as the middle of the pack in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough question for me. I really think there's 5 or 6 teams that have a chance to win it. I think there's about 20 teams that are getting ready for next year.
Yeah. What is your view of the landscape of football right now? The quality of the product.
I just think continuity is a big part of winning. When you look at Andy Reid, he's been there, he's done that. He's been in Kansas City. Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, John Harbaugh in Baltimore, Dan Campbell's been in Detroit, Shanahan. I like the teams that are in the money every year. It just seems to me like have been together. The Philadelphia Eagles, Sirianni's been there now a few years. I just think there's a lot of changeover now. Teams change coaches, not just head coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a problem with the development of players. You guys can speak on this. When you're a first-year player, when you're a rookie, it's an eye-opening deal, man. I don't care what round. But when you came back as your second year in the same system, that's when you probably showed your most improvement. But when you keep pulling a rug out of you players, and here's a new snap count, here's a new system, it's a hard deal to get better, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're on that like level 1 learning curve in that first year. And then when you go into years 2, year 3, you're looking at them details. You're thinking outside the box. You're trying to think more like a coordinator than just your own position. You're thinking about everywhere, everybody else around you, how everything moves around you. But yeah, when it's a new system, it's like you just want to understand like what your job is.
Yeah, you understand.
You're right.
You understand the bigger picture going into year 2 as opposed to just your assignment. For your play calling, was it always the same? Did you always keep the same numbers? You say 96 power, Spider 2 Y Banana. Do you always have the same terminology and phrases going from year to year, or did you ever try to switch it up a little bit?
I took a lot of pride in the verbiage. I learned under Bill Walsh with the 49ers, Mike Holmgren. We had a lot of words, and we became very wordy. But when I was out of football and I came back, we realized that a lot of these players, we got to tighten up our communication so we can pick up a player off the waiver wire, make a trade, whatever, and bring you in and fast track you. You don't have time to learn all these crazy words and what they mean. So we did streamline it a little bit, but we still had a lot to say because we had a lot of formations. We had a lot of motions, a lot of personnel groupings. And if you want to have a big airport, you want to take flights everywhere, you got to make sure you're organized. You have the ability to do that. I never like these teams that line up in trips right and clap their hands and put the ball in play. I like multiple looks. If the defense hasn't seen it, they can't prepare for it. It's an illusion of sophistication, but we're just simple and basic. Yeah. Plays that start off looking the same that are different. There's some common threads of philosophy I think that you got to have if you're going to be any good at it.
How much football do you feel like you forgot when you were in media for 9 years? Terminologies, your playbook.
I probably didn't much just because I have my own computer at home. And when I watch the first play of the game, I type in the formation. A lot of times I even type in the front. So now you save your work and I can come back and be my own quality control guy. It's a sick, obsessed world of football I live in. And that's why it's kind of cool to get out of it. And it's almost like I'm out of prison or something, man. I mean, I'm playing golf with these guys and there's a drone flying around. Me and Trent are playing. We're playing golf. Frankie's on the other team. We're talking, having a good time. I'm like, is this Jon Gruden? Shouldn't I be in a fucking laboratory studying a red zone offense or something? And now I'm on the bus with you guys. It's really, wish I'd have done this 10 years ago. It's a lot more fun, man.
What can people expect with you at Barstool? It seems like you're bringing back the Gruden football camp.
We're going to try to bring back Gruden's QB camp, and it won't be the same. It'll have a little different spice to it. But this Dave Portnoy guy, he's something else. And this Big Cat guy, I really like this Big Cat.
Yeah.
I'm just getting to know them, and I got hired really week 8 of the season, so it's hard to just create a show and come on. I mean, you're going to have to put a little time on task and meet with some people. And, I'd like to do something with you, man. I'd like to do something with you guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have a creative mind myself and just starting to scratch the surface a little bit. I've got some people out there that send me nasty texts and messages, to help me get better. And I encourage that.
Yeah.
I need the help from people, but I really am excited about what could happen.
Yeah,
because I know the potential is unlimited.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
you're
you
with a great
just got
company.
on top of a rocket ship. Like Barstool has a way of making you more known than ever.
Yeah.
They're
Well, how'd
really
those
cool,
conversations go? Dave just hit you up like, "Hey, I'm gonna fly."
I got a message on one of those, I don't know,
Twitter,
TikToks or whatever.
Yeah.
My son Mike, who wrote the song "Nicey," he's my music man. He says, "Hey, Dad, Dave Portnoy reached out to you." So to make a long story short, my wife was in a ballroom dancing contest in Orlando, and Dave flew in to see me, and we just had dinner together and talked a little bit. Next thing I know, man, I was in Chicago filming something up there, and you walk in, you don't realize what's going on. I mean, hell, I'm just a coach. I walk in there and they're filming stuff. Hey, what about John Daly? Did you go golf with John Daly? You start talking about it. Next thing you know, it's out there. Everybody knows about the whole day, but it's really fascinating how it works.
Yeah.
And the ability that they have to reach so many people on so many different platforms instantly. And they take a lot of pride in it. They want to be really good, which is what I like.
Right. Your Gruden Loves Football content. I mean, since day one, I consume it. It's like, all right, I'm trying to hope you drop stuff before we do the locker room to hear everything you're breaking down. Because I remember I'm not thinking it's probably his son running the profile, but he's got the Gruden Loves Football Twitter profile, and I just DM it. I'm like, I need Gruden on Bussin' With. I've already messaged with him, but I'm just having fun with the profile. I'm like, I need Gruden on Bussin' With The Boys like I need air, and he responds to me like it's him running the whole Twitter account. He's like, oh, you're a Gruden grinder. Of course I'll come on. I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'm just messing with Coach Gruden again.
Yeah.
But, when you break a game down, what I wanted to do with that is try to take fans into a little bit of the reality of what we go through.
100%.
If it's the Chargers and the Bucks, let's start with top-of-line things you might want to know. I mean, here's the injury list, right? Yeah. Here's where they rank statistically. Here's how they play on the road. I mean, there's a lot of things that you got to get your mind straight on before you even get in to the Chargers offense. Let's talk nothing but about Chargers offense. And I wanted the fans to know who the offensive linemen were, who the receivers were, who the running backs were, who the play caller was. I mean, I spent 20 minutes on the Chargers offense. Here's a couple schemes they like to run. This is the Chargers offense. But they're going up against Tampa's defense. And then you spent 20 minutes on Todd Bowles' calls of plays. You know, they got Winfield's hurt. They got Jamal Dean's hurt. And you go into all the matchups and some of the blitzes that Todd Bowles runs. Then you got to do the Chargers defense against the Bucs offense. Next thing you know, it's an hour and 15 minutes on one game. And people are like, man, fans aren't going to want to watch all that. But the hardcore fans, nutty people like me, like it. Then at the end of the game, they say, at the end of the presentation, they say, well, we got to make a prediction. Who's going to win? I said, I don't know who's going to win. I said, shit, I don't care who wins. But then I start picking scores, and some of my picks, I'm like you guys, I root for a team a little bit. Mm-hmm. I kind of want, so I kind of pick them to win, and it's not some of the gambling people, they get pissed at you. You screwed me, man. You gave me all this information. You picked the wrong team.
I remember coming in to Taylor. I'm like, hey, have you seen this Gruden Loves Football show? I'm like, bro, he runs it like he's low-key, like running a team meeting at the top of a week. It's incredible.
The breakdown of everything. Have you noticed how easy it is to overthink things? Because it's like you can break down all the film you want, but then we're like, all right, who's going to win? You're like, well, this team. And then you're like, well, no, their defense is this and that. Have you ran into that where it's like you get into a point of overthinking it a little bit?
You can easily overthink it. And I tell you, there are some games. Now, I'm not a big gambling guy. I'll be honest with you. Mm-hmm. There's some games I've learned to stay away from. Got no idea what's going to happen in this game. None. Right. And there's certain games, as I told you guys earlier, I'm going in on this game.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't pick unless you love it. I don't pick the spreads. I would never pick the spreads. And I know you don't make as much money when you pick the money line, they call it, but you pick a team to win. I'm pretty good at picking winners. And I don't get involved in a spread. And then my son says, we don't get any money if you pick the money line. Well, if you pick two money lines, you know, you got a little parlay. Yeah, I'm learning the words, you see.
You got a little parlay.
Anyways, I'm learning and I'm loving it, and this is really cool. This operation, I would not have expected anything less from you two guys. And I tell you, I don't know where you guys are going with the future. There's a lot of rumors about where you two guys are heading.
Hopefully all good.
Deserved.
Yeah. Hopefully a nice chatter.
It is very nice chatter.
I got a couple fun questions for you written up by our boy Sherman in the back. Let's say you're running a fantasy football league, but the teams are made up of only coaches. Which coach are you drafting first?
First overall pick.
I'd take Andy Reid. Because Andy Reid, he can call the plays and he can coach the quarterback, man.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to fault you there. If you could only watch one NFL game on repeat for the rest of your life, which game are you picking?
One NFL game?
One NFL game.
It would be the Millennium Game. Raiders versus Chiefs. The calendar just kicked over to 2000. I was in my second year coaching the Raiders. I was going to get fired. We were 7-8. We're playing at the Chiefs. All the Chiefs need to do is win this game, beat the Raiders, who they've beaten 100 times in a row, and they win the division, get a home playoff game. We're down 17-0 after about 6 minutes, and this place is rocking, man. My boy Rich Gannon got pissed off and shredded him. We beat him 38-35 in overtime. Check that game out. Raiders at the Chiefs, 2000. Last game of the year.
He knew it off the top, too.
We busted him good, man. I was dancing on the field. Probably saved my job that day, too.
Yeah?
Yep.
God, it's got to be a great feeling to go home, crack open a nice drink.
Yeah.
And just
what
be
about
like,
you? What's your favorite memory on the gridiron? Just get one.
2019 playoffs, AFC divisional round against the Baltimore Ravens. They were the 1 seed. We had to win 5 of 6 just to make it into the playoffs. We played against the New England Patriots and the dynasty for Tom Brady. It was his last game as a Patriot. And we go in against the Ravens. It was Lamar Jackson's first MVP. In Baltimore, the bank was like as loud of a stadium as I've ever heard in my entire life. And we owned them. That is my favorite game from a blocking standpoint ever. They had 8 guys in the box. We ran Wanda, which is a open side outside zone, and we blocked him, and Derek ran it for like 40 yards. It just felt like everything we did, we were going to get at least 4 yards.
Look how he's sitting up like
that.
It
was awesome. We had
a
a turnover. We had a turnover in that game. I think Jarrell Casey got a strip sack fumble that was picked up by Harold Landry. That player on like the 46-yard line going in, and we call Lucy X pylon post. and it's Khalif Raymond. He's like 4 or 5 yards past the DB, and we score a touchdown the next play. And it's just like,
Isn't that cool?
we're going to beat the fucking
That's
Ravens.
the thing. See, that's the one thing I've learned about being in social media is I like to discover like great plays. I like to go back and show you some of the memories of other players. I have tape in my office of Lawrence Taylor. I got Eric Dickerson running with that high form. But you can't really show the video. You don't have rights to the video to use all the time, you see?
Right.
So you got to creatively find ways to make your point. But I would love to see that game.
It's
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
I can go on all day about that game. That game was awesome. The blocking was incredible. We had 5 guys doing everything right every single play. It was unbelievable.
It's hard to think about mine. I feel like it's more you just get pissed off that you lost. Like when we lost to Green Bay in the wild card round, when we ended up winning the division. Probably the most fun game and most fun memories when we clinched the division at Philly right around Christmas. Went out there. That was the dad game, my only career sack on Sam Bradford. But we beat their ass and we came back, and just the city, the town was packed in Ashburn, Virginia. Like you were just going 1-2 miles an hour driving out of the facility because fans were so excited. It was such a moment that, that was like, do you like that year? Kirk Cousins kind of making his run. We're kind of a bad football team, and we'd win one, lose one, try to string a couple together, and we ended up winning the division that year in the NFC least, they called it. But I would say that game is probably the most memorable, fun game. But as far as moments go, probably when I got to start against the New Orleans Saints. We played the week before at New England. We got our ass kicked. But I had made a few good plays. I think I had like 8 tackles, and they made the switch to make me the Mike backer. And I remember Kirk Olivadotti. He pulled me right into the office before we went into the defensive room to have a defensive meeting to start breaking down the Saints. He pulled me in and he whispered, "You got the keys, make me right," and just dap me up. And I'm like, oh shit. We're rolling. Like I'm active. Like I get to play now.
Yeah.
And so we end up beating the Saints ass, bro. And the paper, one of the papers next week was like, RWA Redskins with attitude. And I was spotlighted in it, had a really good game. And that was probably the most memorable moment was when I got to ultimately like take over the job in Washington. Cause you bust your ass to get in all the situations that you're in. The year before that, there was like, that's when I got to play against you guys. The Delaney game, and I had a little run there because somebody had gotten hurt to where I accumulated some tackles. But then you just start to get noticed. Then next year it's like, hey, are you going to take this guy's job? You have a couple injuries, you don't get the opportunity to take it. Then in the middle of the year, as it unfolds, similar to the Oakland year, where you just end up getting an opportunity and you just don't look back. Like those are more of like my memorable times in the NFL.
What was least favorite game ever?
Well, the tuck rule was bad.
Oh, I forgot. I don't know. I forgot that.
People don't realize.
I forgot
Yeah,
he comes there. He did a walkthrough. Take at his facility, and he goes in the bathroom on the shitter, and he's got the photo sitting up, and it's the tuck rule photo.
We played the AFC Championship game when I was coaching the Raiders against Baltimore, and I don't know if you remember, but Siragusa killed our quarterback. We don't get a personal foul. We don't get anything. It really pissed me off in that game too. But the tuck rule, instant replay is designed to only overturn a play that's completely obvious.
Yeah.
Right? To lose a game like that. Think of Steve Wisniewski. He's 9 Pro Bowls, William Thomas, Eric Allen. These are great NFL players. That's the last game they ever played. I mean, we got a chance to go to the Super Bowl. That's what kind of team we had.
Yeah.
And I can see Belichick taking his headset off. Their whole staff, Brady's walking off the field. You can interview any of them. Yeah. They knew that game was over.
Yeah.
And the only thing wrong with the tuck rule is they spelled it wrong. It's really not a T. It's another consonant that's supposed to be. That's what they don't even have the rule anymore.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is.
God.
Biggest rival coach out there where you're just like, I want to get his ass. Whether you guys went back and forth, who was your biggest rival?
It had to be Andy. It had to be Andy Reid. Because we were on the same staff. We're on Mike Holmgren's staff in Green Bay. You guys will love this. So Andy played for Mike Holmgren at BYU. So he was kind of the teacher's pet,
Yeah.
I love
jabbing
Andy
him.
Reid. So,
Yeah.
So we had this big board. Me and Mariucci and Andy Reid were young coaches at the time. And we would put the plays on the board with the formations. And these are the plays that we think should be in the game plan. And Holmgren would be doing his thing. He'd come in, he'd sit there and look at the board. And in a different color would be a new play. And Holmgren was always like, whose play is that? Andy goes, that's my play. That's 69 handoff solid. You get on the board and draw it. Mike would put it in. And Andy would like look at me and mooch like, I'm smarter than you guys.
Yeah.
So Andy would get a play in the game plan and it would be called. And it gained 6 yards or it gained 8 yards. And Andy'd walk around the office all week. I'm like, that's son of a bitch.
That's awesome.
So now we're not playing good. We just signed Reggie White in free agency. We got Brett Favre playing good. We got Sterling Sharp. We got a hell of a team. And we're not playing good. We're like 2-3. And people are starting to get on Holmgren's ass a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with you guys? So we go into the room. There's all the plays. And there's this play called Fox 3, fullback slide, 58, all go Z search. Holmgren's like, what are those plays? I go, those are my 2 plays. And I had to cut up. And well, you don't like our plays? Is that what your problem is? You don't want to run our... He was on my ass, like yelling at me. I'm like, fuck. So we go play the Bears on Halloween night. You can go back and watch this game. Now, it's pouring down rain, the worst night in the history of football. 3rd and 2, early in the game. Holmgren calls red left, fake Fox 3, naked right, fullback slide. And I swear to God, Brett Favre kept it, runs it in, longest touchdown run of his career, 36 yards on Monday Night Football. I'm on the sidelines. I'm not saying anything, but I'm like, God damn, that's my play. So listen,
That's my play.
late, this is a true story. Late in the game, we just need a first down. The game's over. And it's like 3rd and 14. And I had seen Dan Marino run an all-go with the little search route. The guy acted like he was running a seam, but he would throw his shoulders down and uncover. And I put that play in, and Sterling Sharp ran it better than Mark Clayton and Mark Duper ever ran it. Favre threw it like a 23-yard gain to ice a game. That's my play too. So we get on the plane. And back then they give you a little bag with 2 beers in it. And Holmgren's sitting in the front with Ron Wolf, the GM, and I'm in the back. I'll never forget this. I got my beer and I'm drinking it. I'm thinking, God damn, well, that was the greatest day of my life. Holmgren turns around. He goes, hey, Gruber. Calls me Gruber. Hey, Gruber, come down here. I walk down the fucking thing. I sit next to him. He goes, game ball. Hell of a job. I turn around. I walk back to my seat. I see Andy Reid and I go, game ball. I love competing with Andy Reid. And then when we competed against each other, when he was in Philly, I was in Oakland or Kansas City. I mean, I just used to love seeing him, and we still laugh
awesome,
about
man.
that shit. Yeah.
He
I love you guys,
in the leg
man.
and said, "Game,
Yeah, this
Coach,
has
we
been
appreciate
awesome, man.
appreciate you coming
Merry
on, man.
Christmas, and God bless you, man. If I can ever do anything, if I ever come back and coach,
Yeah.
you'll be my left tackle.
Let's fucking go. You're gonna have a bad.
You're not
offensive
getting a
line.
guaranteed contract, though. You're getting a shit.
You gotta earn it.
You're getting a minimum salary benefit and no incentives.
Yeah.
But
I'll coach for you.
I got to have a left tackle.
I love it. Before you go, I do want to play a game of crystal ball with you.
Okay.
Of all the coaching positions that might be open this year, it might be the Dallas Cowboys. We know the Jets. We know the Bears. Where do you think you would fit in best?
Oh, I have no idea. That puts me on the spot.
Yeah,
man.
you're right. That's a tough one, huh?
You know.
Well, cut it. Guess what? Cut.
Yeah.
Hey, appreciate you coming on, man.
I do think the Bears with that young quarterback is interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I like their defense too, man. Have you seen them play?
Yeah.
They got some guys on that
Opening
defense.
night
two linebackers.
against the Titans.
TJ Edwards, I mean, he's a hell of a player. They got some linebackers that can run. When they lost Jaquan Brisker, they lost a key member of that secondary. But they got corners. They do have some pass rushers. They got some receivers, man.
Yeah.
They got a quarterback. I like this kid, man.
Got you
That's
feeling
why,
nicey.
Minnesota might look out on Monday night. These guys, this quarterback is interesting, man.
I love it.
It's got me feeling nicey.
We do got to hit the twisted question. real
Oh,
quick.
okay.
This twisted question is brought to you by Twisted Tea. Twisted Tea is a refreshing hard iced tea made with real brewed tea and 5% alcohol, full flavor, very refreshing. Twisted Tea goes down smooth. There's no carbonation, what makes it easy to drink all day long. Twisted Tea feels fun and celebrates extreme fandom on game day. It is the perfect beverage for game day, whether tailgate in a parking lot, watching in a bar, or watching with friends at home. Twisted Tea is there to turn up your game day. Keep it twisted. Grab a refreshing Twisted Tea today. Let's hear that twisted question for Jon Gruden.
Twisted question. You are down a point. 2 seconds left. It's 4th and 20 from the 35-yard line, but your kicker broke his foot. What's the play call?
Shit. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I'll go tandem right 76 rebound pass. I'll throw a Hail Mary up there. I'll isolate my best receiver. If they play one-on-one over there, I'll throw it to him. If not, I'll pop it up into the end zone.
Touchdown. Love it. Coach
You ever
Gruden-
see guys throw Hail Marys and the ball lands off the field of play? I want to make this point before I leave. Have you ever seen this shit where I'm talking a Hail Mary, okay, and the ball lands off of the field of play? Have you ever seen that? Yes, you have.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
They're scared?
Why do you think it is? It's the QB rating, man. They don't want to throw interceptions.
Oh, you think it's an ego thing?
I know it is. It has to be. These are the greatest passers in the world. You mean to tell me on a Hail Mary you can't put the ball on the field of play? Seriously, you can throw the ball in that tight window that big. You can sizzle it in there off platform into a window that big. But on the last play of the game, you can't keep the ball on the playing field. Let me tell you, when you see that, you know you're dealing with somebody that's interested in his QB rating.
I love
Keep an eye on that.
I will.
What
I love
a
that take.
fucking
Last
show.
thing I'll tell you, I learned this from Reggie White. Do you know tackles for loss and sack is a big way these guys get paid, right?
Yeah.
So back in the day, Reggie White told me this a long time ago. They're playing for the Philadelphia Eagles, and the quarterback takes a knee. Reggie White, Clyde Simmons, he told me those guys would go flying in there to touch the quarterback to get credit for a TFL. And now that rule, I guess, has changed too.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in, 2 seconds left in the half. You're in a prevent defense, and somebody runs a draw play for 16 yards. That's why statistics, you got to be really careful when you look at them, man.
I love that.
Knowledge.
Yeah, I love the takes. I love the takes.
Coach,
Love you
we
guys.
appreciate
Thank
you
you.
Yeah,
so
love you
much.
too,
Thank you
Coach.
for coming on the show. It was unbelievable. Please subscribe, rate 5 stars.
That was awesome, man.
Oh, you
That was
guys
awesome,
you
man.
guys covered.